Hello. Welcome to SkepTalk, the show where skeptics talk. I'm your host, Forrest Valkai, and I'm joined today by the charming and handsome Paulogia. How are you doing, my dude?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to host with you again tonight because all my shows are just too short, so Forrest is the answer to that. Yeah.
We'll see what happens. I am currently I'm running on sleep in quotation marks. I did a show last night and then I was up all night recording and I was up all day editing, and I am currently abusing caffeine. And so it's keeping me going just long enough to get through this show, and then I'm going to pass out and then do midterms this week. It's going to be an awesome time for everybody. I haven't hosted with you in a long time though. How are you?
It's been
How
a
have
while.
you been?
I've been all right.
Yeah.
It's been a busy month. I had I think a few people on the line know about this, that a comic that I wrote a long time ago was turned into a feature film. And so Shannon and I had to go to Times Square to see the premiere a couple weeks ago. And then either between too much licking of the various, the train station stuff, or just kids start of school, then all of a sudden the sickness infected our house, we're back to school flu or whatever it is. But so anyway, I'm happy to be recovering, but just like you, I was crazily editing on those end of the month videos. So we're both on a post edit adrenaline, I guess.
It's craziness. I have not released a feature film. However, I did last year do a thing, Roll for Initiative. We played like 36 Hours Tales of the Valiant. We raised like over $40,000 for charity. It was a big, crazy thing that absorbed a lot of my life. And today, this afternoon, right before I got on the show, I was just told that we won best scenes and miniature designs at the New Jersey Web Fest, which that's 100%. That's Jesse Jerdak and his incredible design. Not to mention Mike Ashley and Michael Corey and Eric Good and the rest of the design peoples that helped fill in the gaps and do extra building and everything else. But holy shit, that's crazy.
That's amazing.
We
love it.
We won a award. And we also helped save lives in Palestine and all around the other parts of the world. And it's just an exciting time. So tune into that if you haven't already, and then go watch Paul's movie as well. But don't do either of those things because it's SkepTalk.
No,
and you're trapped. This is what's happening. You're watching this.
We want to talk to theists. We want to talk to. Oh, and my dog wants to go crazy.
That's awesome.
There's a deer outside.
Your dog wants to be on the show.
There's a deer outside the window, so she's protecting us from the dragons.
Good. For those who don't know about this show, for those who are tuning in for the first time or are unfamiliar with the channel, The Line is a hub for atheists and skeptics and humanists and feminists and all the other peoples that want to make the world a better place and who care about free thought and open minds and critical thought and all these different things that make us so excited and make the world a better place. And here on SkepTalk, we bring in people with various expertise and various life experiences and various unique ideas and perspectives on various things in order to have people talk to us directly. It's a little bit of a longer show. It's a little bit more of a free-form show. If you are a theist, if you are a Christian or a Muslim or a Hindu or whatever else, or if you are a creationist or a flat earther, or an anti-vaxxer, or a transphobe, or a homophobe, or whatever other kind of science issues you've got going on. If you want to call in and have serious conversations with people who disagree with you, not just get in some weird internet fight in a comment section where everybody's calling each other names and nobody learns anything because everyone's just asking for sources and sharing terrible links. If you want to have real conversations with actual human beings, this is the show for you. Call in, number on the bottom of the screen, 720-619-2288, or use the web link in the description. We're very nice, as long as you're very nice. Paul is incredibly kind. I am incredibly stupid. And we will be pleasant with you as long as you are pleasant. And we'll let you know where to shove your theology if you're not. It's a great opportunity because we live in hell, and a lot of people on the internet have opinions, and we're two of them. So call in and let us know what's up. With that, we actually do have some folks starting to file in here to the call-in queue. We're going to give them
Very
just a
good.
couple more minutes to do that, but lines are still open. Really quick before we get into it, though, I want to say a couple of things. Number one is that we only have one more show on the calendar right now. We're still doing all the shows. There's only one that's populating the calendar because we're currently populating the calendar for October. So right now, all I can tell you is that tomorrow you can watch Chewed Gum with Alyssa and Erica. So if you want to learn about women's issues in religion and religious deconstruction, the ways in which they particularly are affected and the problems that they face and the perspectives that they have, it's an amazing show for you to tune into and learn some cool stuff. Check out Chewed Gum tomorrow. Beyond that, literally all I know is that Matt will be hosting the Hang Up on Wednesday, and I don't know with whom, and he should be doing that every Wednesday. So that's all I've got for you right now. But if you're in the chat, and I'm going to say this over and over, if you're in the chat and you're here to proselytize, pick up that phone. Chat doesn't want to hear it. No, but you're going to be muted in the chat because our mods just don't care to hear you preach. But we got a better platform. Why preach in the chat to 3 people that don't want to hear you when you can get up on stage in front of tens of thousands of people and have your message debated live on air? Share your ideas. Tell us your evidence. Tell us why we should believe the things you believe. Hear our objections, and we will hear yours. It's an amazing opportunity. If you believe what you're saying is true, think of all the souls you could save. We get usually contemporaneously while we're streaming around 1 to 2,000 people on average watching, and then within the first week of the show being up, about 20,000, 30,000. So if you believe in a god or gods and you want to talk to us about it, if you don't believe in trans people or you want to discuss abortion or whatever, if you're anti something, socialist or something, whatever, if you don't think there's a genocide in Palestine, if you would, whatever it is, this is your chance. Pick up the phone, give us a shout. We'll talk to you.
We've got Thanksgiving and Christmas coming up, and my family would love nothing more than the gift of me being a believer again.
That's true.
You could get my family the greatest gift of all. You could call in and let me know why I should return to Christianity. That would be, and that's not even facetious. If it's true, I want to know, and I want to believe that. So,
I also am. Thanksgiving is happening, and I am not going to be doing any family things except for with my wife. We are going to Austria and Germany to tour the Christmas markets. We're going to skip Thanksgiving and do Christmas instead. And I just put a link in chat. You can join me if you want to tag along. I think there might be either it may have just closed or it has like today open. So you may or may not be able to sign up for that. But you definitely can sign up for our trip next summer to Zimbabwe. And pretty soon you'll be able to sign up for our trip next winter to Costa Rica. Those ones are educational adventures. We're traveling around the world learning biology. So we went to the Galapagos last year. We went to Borneo this year. Next year, we're going to Zimbabwe and then to Costa Rica to learn about the local biology. And you can tag along for those too. Use that link that I put in the description there.
That sounds very
good. With that, let's talk first to... Let's see here. We've got 2 theists and 1 atheist on the line so far. We've got 2 other people calling in, so we're going to let them filter through. In the meantime, we're going to start the show right away talking to Jesse, pronouns he, him, calling in from Opulescent Ratatouille, who wants to talk about trans people. Jesse, you are on the line with Forrest and Paul. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you.
All right. Happy to have you. So, what did you want to talk about?
Thank you. I wanted to know what your guys' definition of a woman is.
Sure. Yeah, no problem. I would say that a woman is a person whose gender identity aligns with the social, behavioral, cultural, and or physical characteristics that they associate with femininity.
A person whose gender what?
A person whose gender identity is aligned with the social, behavioral, cultural, and or physical characteristics that they associate with femininity. And if you want to know what I think a man is, I would just change the word out for masculinity. And if you want to know the definition of a non-binary person, switch it out for a person whose gender identity does not align with either their perception of masculinity or femininity.
Okay.
What about you? What's your definition of a woman?
My definition would be an adult human female, which I'm sure you've heard already. But
yeah.
I think that definition is better.
Okay.
The whole I see in person whose identity is aligned with the social, behavioral, physical characteristics they associate with femininity would be like, let's say someone who doesn't identify with that. Let's say like someone who is a masculine lesbian or something like that. So they don't identify themselves with the social or whatever characteristics that are usually feminine, but they still are a woman.
But that's why I said and or, because they may not exhibit or associate or align themselves with the social characteristics, but they probably do with physical characteristics or maybe cultural characteristics or whatever else, the behaviors that they whatever it may be. The key here is, and I would love to compare and talk about your definition because I think that your definition doesn't work. But at the end of the day, if you and you use he him pronouns, I also do. I'm a cisgender man. I'm assuming you are as well. I guarantee you and I have different perspectives on what masculinity is, and I'm sure that Paul does as well from both of us. And so I can't tell you what it is to be a man because it means something entirely different to me. The cultural, behavioral, social norms for me, in my opinion and my perspective, are vastly different. And yet they are in line with my gender identity. And so if I tried to tell you I'm a man because blah, 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 I would have a hard enough time doing that. I don't know what the fuck that means. But certainly I would say some shit that doesn't resonate with you. And so, and if I were just to pin it down on, well, we're both males, then I would have a lot of questions about what we're actually talking about there and what parts matter and what parts are even able to be, interpreted, or what parts we're able to tell. Pardon me, I'm extremely tired, but like what parts we can tell about each other in that way. But a masculine woman is still a woman as long as she's a woman. I don't know, Paul, do you have a different definition? Do you have anything else you want to throw in here? Like,
no, this is all you, but I'm nodding in agreement completely. But you're the biology guy,
okay.
So you're much. I'm gonna leave this one to you. But
okay, man.
I mean, Jesse, what?
Feel free to jump in. Don't let me steamroll.
I will. But Jesse, what is better about yours? What are we missing? What's happening? Why are we even having this conversation? Are you calling to take a survey, or what were you hoping to achieve here?
No, I just had an interaction with Forrest online about transgenderism, I think. So I figured I'd give a call when I had a chance. But I guess what I gathered from that was it seems that you're kind of trying to say man or woman is a little too subjective to pin it down, and that mine might be overcomplicating it because we might disagree what's masculine, what's feminine, or whatever. But I think I think the opposite.
I would say that what I'm doing, the reason why my definition is the way it is, and the reason why I think that yours doesn't function is because sex and gender are different things. And so if you were asking me what is the definition of a male, I would have a totally different thing for you. But like if we're talking about a man, then I can't rely on male because while there may be some overlap there, these things are touching. They're not the same thing at all. So for me to try to use one to define the other just wouldn't work. So because gender is a social construct and is necessarily definitionally non-binary, I've got to find a way to make sure that we're identifying what man and woman mean in a way that actually is defining a necessary condition for those states. I like this, and this is where I'm talking about your definition just doesn't work, because if you're going to say that a man is a male and a woman is a female, and these are synonymous terms. Then I would ask you, what is the necessary condition, the single thing that all, and maybe it's multiple, I don't know, but like the necessary thing that all cisgender women and transgender men have, no cisgender men or transgender women have, and is only based on some physical characteristic. What is the necessary condition here?
Sorry, I just kind of wanted to address the first part. I think, again, I think your definition is a little overcomplicating it and reading too much into it, just because, like you said, sex and gender are two different things, and I can kind of follow you there. But I would say gender doesn't have to be. I can understand where culture plays into a role, where different cultures have different expectations of a man. But I would simply say gender would be your sex plus age, right? So when you say man, you're thinking of an adult, and you're thinking of a male. So different cultures do have expectations and things of an adult male wherever you go. But at the end of the day, it's still a male.
That's not correct, though, is it? Like, it's like that. I think you just said something that isn't correct. The expectation of specific genders is not the same wherever you go. If you go to different countries, there are different expectations of what those gender norms are. Is that not correct?
And also gender ages at which that becomes a thing. So if it's just sex plus age, then you still have the problem of cultural relativity.
Yeah, cultural relativity does tie in, but at the end of the day, it's the definition. Though different cultures may be like 18, maybe 20, it's still what they consider an adult and a man. And then
So then to be clear, in your definition, sex and gender are we're talking just about gender here. In your definition as well, gender is largely based on social norms. It isn't a biological construct.
Yes. In a sense, yes, but I think mine is still closer to not only being more simple, but more specific than, let's say, a guy who's wearing a skirt, walking around the street and just being like, I'm a woman. You know what I mean?
Right, but that doesn't happen. That's not a thing.
I think it does happen.
That's just a boogeyman that people come up with to try to oversimplify the existence of transgender people. See, what you're doing here is you're accusing me of overcomplicating things when what I'm giving you is the simplest functional definition. And as far as I can tell, you're accusing me of overcomplicating things because I'm giving these two terms the respect that they deserve as separate entities. And I'm identifying these things in a way that actually does nail down a necessary condition. But what you're doing is you are oversimplifying these things to the point where you are now denying the identities of people and erasing the existence of people just for like categorical convenience. And I think that's, even if I were to agree with you that my definition is overcomplicated, I think that your sin here is far more egregious than mine. But you didn't answer my question in the first place. If sex and gender are necessarily tied together, you're making a point that they're not exactly synonymous, but they're pretty damn synonymous. Then what is the singular necessary condition for being, say, a woman?
Okay. In just 1 second, I want to address a man in a dress or whatever saying I'm a woman does happen. I ran into it myself, so it's not a boogeyman. So you're right. That mind can be a little more narrow and it might exclude people, but I'm not excluding their existence. I'm just excluding.
Are you saying that a person was wearing Are you saying that a person was wearing a Halloween costume and saying I'm dressed as a woman, or are you saying you met a trans woman and didn't accept that she was actually a woman and said you're just a man in a dress claiming something?
Yeah, I met a man in a dress who said he was a woman. I'm like, you're a man, bro.
So you met a transgender person and denied that person their identity is exactly what I just said that you did.
I denied what he wanted to claim to be, yeah, and that's okay. I'm not denying their existence.
So by the So by the end of this, we'll make sure to address that. But first, I would love for you to actually answer the question that I've asked you now 3 times. What is the necessary condition if you're claiming that these terms are very close to synonymous, or at least necessarily interrelated? What is the necessary condition for being a woman? What is the thing that makes somebody a woman that is purely based on physical characteristics that no cisgender men have at all, only cisgender women have, no trans women have, only cis women, only trans men have? What is that thing?
Well, first, I just want to say I wasn't dodging your question. It's just that, you speak and you bring up various points. So there are.
Okay, well, then this is your chance to answer it directly. So don't dodge it now. Now's your chance. Tell me what the answer is.
And again, I'm not dodging. I'm addressing little things that you slip into the conversation, like saying I
would love to hear the answer.
Existence. So, yeah, and I'll give it to you. But just like I let you speak, let me get my point across before you, you know what I mean? Try to force me, whatever. But anyway, what's the necessary condition? I don't know, man. I don't know if there is a necessary condition. I mean, that's kind of putting words in my mouth. I didn't say there was a necessary condition. I just said that my definition, I guess, would
didn't say there was a necessary condition, but you are establishing a category which you are saying is like a hard set thing that you can determine. And I'm asking you, how do you determine that?
I'm saying it's my definition is closer and better, a better definition. I'm not saying it's like.
How do you know?
I don't know, because I don't want to.
How do you know?
How do I know what? How do I know what?
That your definition is closer and better.
Because it makes more sense. I mean, just use reason and logic, an adult.
It makes more sense to
female
whom?
Versus a person. To anyone who thinks, just think it through. I don't know. Whoever's listening, think it through. Which definition is better? Someone who thinks they align, whether it's biologically or socially or whatever all you said, with things normally associated with feminism or femininity, all that stuff, which could include someone who just says, well, I'm kind of feminine, so I think I'm a woman. Or it doesn't. My definition, an adult, human, female.
So what's going on here, Jesse, and the reason why this is so immensely disappointing is what I've given you here is my best understanding of this topic based on my education around this topic and actually taking the time to really think about it in accordance with the guidelines and the understanding and the research laid out by experts in this area. And your definition and your understanding that you're giving me is vibes and what seems to just resonate with you as a person. And if you're gonna say that this is a situation where I'm sorry?
Do all experts agree with you?
All experts don't agree about anything ever. That's the whole point.
Okay,
A group of crows is called a murder. A group of ferrets is called a business. A group of scientists is called a disagreement. So what the point here is that
so then I'm with the scientists who disagree.
Okay, cool. So you're with the creationist biologist. You're with the anti-vax doctor. You're with all the other science deniers out there who go against the academic consensus. Because what I'm telling you about sex and gender is literally written in introductory biology textbooks. Basic biology is what I am giving you. And if you disagree with that, okay, that's not my problem. As a scientist, I don't care about the random opinions of some dude who didn't care enough to actually research this. I care more about what experts in my field say and what evidence they bring to the table and whether or not that evidence makes sense. And as someone who actually dug into this, I can tell you the evidence makes a lot more sense than what you're presenting me, which is much more in line with the some person just decided whatever than anything that I'm presenting you. You're giving me these hypotheticals of some guy can just decide that he's a woman, when what's happening here is you're just deciding what science is and what reality is. And that's simply not how thinking works, Jesse.
It is how thinking works. You don't just go with the consensus or whatever, not even consensus, because I bet a lot of scientists don't agree with that. But you don't just go with what quote unquote science tells you just because, you know what I mean? Like, you're saying what basic biology says, but this is like this is almost like a sociological type of debate. You know what I mean? Like, This is
you
a
will
person's
never
mental
guess.
identity. It's
You
in
will
the mind.
never guess. You will never guess, Jesse, what kind of things exhibit sociological traits. It's biological things.
So what biologically makes a man in a dress become a woman?
Nothing, because that's not how trans people work. Trans women are women. Trans men are men. They're not playing dress up. You're talking about drag. You're confusing drag with trans.
Everything about him was male, except for he said he wanted to be addressed as a woman.
Because
and it's not a boogeyman. It's not a made-up scenario.
Because as I already explained, Jesse, and would be happy to elaborate on, male and man are different terms with different meaning, because sex and gender are different things. If you don't want to take the time to actually think about the necessary conditions, if you don't want to take the time, Jesse, to actually think about the necessary conditions for being a man or a woman, I would be happy to explore them with you. What would you say about a situation? I was literally doing it, and you just jumped. Oh, whatever. So let's explore a couple of scenarios here. Do you understand the difference between transgender and intersex people?
What is it?
Do you know what intersex people are?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so this is a great place to start. So we understand what sex is, right? It's a category system that we use to distinguish between, reproductive types within a species. Typically, it's listed binary, right? It's not actually that binary, but whatever. Just for convenience sake, we'll stick with the binary model for the course of the conversation right now, right? The issue is the second you start to try to lump people into these binary categories, you quickly find that sex isn't one single individual thing. Sex is a multivariate system. That means that there's lots of individual pieces going into it. And not a single one of those pieces is solely determinate of the outcome of the system. And also, not a single one of those pieces has only two options. So you've got a system here, this suite of characteristics that we cobble together and call it sex. And it's made up of a bunch of different things, and no one of those things easily, reliably, constantly, 100% of the time tells you what the actual outcome is, and none of them are binary. And so in biomedical sciences, when we're talking about this stuff, we will commonly distinguish. If we're talking about, let's say, a male, we will distinguish, are we talking about a chromosomal male, or a genetic male, or an anatomical male, or a phenotypic male, or a gonadal male, or whatever? What part of the sex spectrum are we saying is pointing towards male? What are we actually addressing at this moment? And none of those things mean the same thing as man, right? That's the condition here. So when we talk about intersex people, we're talking about people who have some condition, some developmental situation, whatever it may be. There's a shitload of ways in which their overall sex presentation, their phenotypic and anatomical sex, or chromosomal sex, whatever it may be, any one of these parts of sex doesn't fall easily on one side or the other. Or some of them fall on one side and some of them fall on the other side, or they fall somewhere in the middle. And when you take all of this into account, what you realize is that sex as a total thing is not just two binary categories, it's actually a bimodal distribution. It's two major lumps with a continuum of variation between them. And the only reason we maintain the binary model when we're talking about it is just for categorical convenience, the same reason why we use the word species in biology. That's not a real fucking thing. And the closer you look at it, the more fuzzy and useless it gets. But we use the terminology to make it easier to talk about whatever we're talking about. And when you get bigger and bigger, it means less and less and less. And yet it is somehow more and more important, which is really fun. And so that's what we're talking about with sex here. So now we have a general understanding of what intersex people are. They're people who have sexual characteristics that fall somewhere in between or in both sexual categories. And now, when we look at these people, if you're going to say that that sex and gender are necessarily aligned, you now have a problem. Because where I can say transgender and intersex people are different categories. They overlap, but they're different categories definitionally. You now have this issue where you have to decide by whatever metric that this person who has a uterus and a vagina and ovaries and breasts and is just totally anatomically female and also has XY chromosomes, you have to decide what to do with this person and how to refer to this person. And I don't think you're equipped to do that, Jesse. So do you understand the hang-up that I'm having here with your rhetoric, where it just, from a scientific perspective, it just doesn't work?
So how rare is that condition?
Does it matter?
It does matter, because my definition covers 99.9% of the population, except for that small person who has chromosomes that are a little different.
So just so you know, first of all, over 99% of all the atoms in the universe are either hydrogen or helium. We don't call the periodic table a binary, right? That just doesn't make any fucking sense. If you're sitting here saying that you clearly know that a man is a male and a woman is a female, and you can make these set, hard, serious categories, if even one person violates that, then you no longer have good categories. And you either need to join my side to say, hey, these categories are pretty fuzzy and they don't always do the right job. They don't always cover everybody. Or you need to join my side and say these categories really need to be reevaluated. Like, you have no way of saying these categories work if there is ever a situation where they don't. But secondly, if we're talking just about that one situation, that's called Swyer syndrome. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but I can look it up for you. But I do know that the combined total of all intersex characteristics, by way of, I believe, I forgot the exact office, the UN. It's a part of the UN, the Office of the High Commissioner of Human Rights, or something like that. It's a weird acronym. Their numbers from the UN is 1.7% of the global population are intersex. Now, fair note, there is some debate over that, because there's kind of a war between these two scientists as to whether it's 1.7% or less than 1%. And it really just depends on who they are excluding and who they are including. The general consensus, what my textbook said, what my biomedical training said, and what the UN is backing up as well, is this 1.7% figure. And I just say that for the people in the chat who inevitably are going to hang on that number as if it destroys the debate, when literally it changes nothing about what I'm saying. But going with that number, because it's the one that I know the best and the one that I was trained on, 1.7% of the global population is intersex. And you can look at that number and say, okay, well, 1.7% is nothing. That's tiny, right? Except 1.7% of 8 billion people on this planet is about 136 million people, Jesse. So we're talking about a population of people the size of Russia, the country of Russia. And you're sitting here saying, well, it works for all these other people, so it doesn't matter. You don't get to just ignore the entire population of Russia when you're making any other decision about what humans are. That just doesn't work. It's lazy thinking.
Do they remain uncategorized, or do they ultimately get categorized as male or female?
For convenience sake, generally speaking, they are just referred to as male or female based on their phenotypic presentation. However, intersex advocates are very adamant about the fact that they are not a third sex, but they are also wanting representation. They are not wanting to be just lumped and ignored. I guess some people are, probably, but they want to be recognized. They want to be noticed. They want to be talked about. They want to be heard. Their voices matter. Okay. Their experiences matter. So if I have
being recognized as male or female.
That's literally not what I just said.
Categorization works.
No.
Okay. Well,
no, it doesn't. Because what you're doing, Jesse, is you are deciding what they are. You are looking at these people and making a judgment without consulting them and without actually knowing anything about them. And also, you're then tacking on a gender term, which is even less appropriate.
No, you said they get categorized, right?
No.
I said that for convenience sake,
whoever categorized them.
I said that for convenience sake, they are usually just categorized as male or female based on phenotype. However, that isn't always accurate, because the way that we assign sex in this country, especially, is just by taking a casual glance at a baby's giblets, and whatever it looks like, we just go with it. And that's simply not how it works. Take, for example, are you familiar with Givadose people?
Mm-mm.
So Givadose, the Givadose is a population in the Dominican Republic. It is a rare intersex condition that is only present in this population. These people are born anatomically female. So this baby is born. You take a look between their legs. There's a vagina, and you say this is a girl, a female, whatever. And then about age 12, they just grow a penis, because it turns out that they were actually chromosomally male the entire time, and they had a 5-alpha reductase deficiency, and so they developed as a female until they hit puberty, and then testosterone levels spiked, and they started developing male external genitalia. The term Givadoses is a play on words in Spanish for balls at 12, because around age 12, around puberty, they grow balls, they drop them. And so here are these people that then go on to live their lives as men, because they are, largely, like that's generally what happens for them. And they were born and raised as a girl this whole time. So you, Jesse, now you see this little girl playing in the Dominican Republic, and you're like, that's definitely a woman. I know, because I decided so. And then she grows a penis. What do you do with that, Jesse? How do you now decide what sex this person actually is and what gender this person actually is?
Well, I wouldn't have called her a woman, because a woman, again, is an adult human female.
You said, I said girl a second ago.
And
I'm pretty sure I said girl.
Well, and the other thing is, if they, well, can they reproduce? And once they hit puberty and they become adults?
Does it matter?
Well, yeah.
Plenty of cisgender and like, there are plenty of people who are not intersex that can't reproduce. Are they not male or female anymore?
Just talking about I'm just talking about the Givadose, though, because you brought them up.
Right. If a woman who is cisgender with XX chromosomes and is totally anatomically and phenotypically female, if she cannot have children, is she still a woman? And does that factor into your consideration about her sex or gender at all?
Well, I'm just learning about the Givadose. I want to know if they can reproduce, or if when they hit puberty, do they still have a vagina and a penis, or do they just have a penis?
I'm asking.
I'm just
you should look it up. You should look it up. It's really interesting. I'm asking you why it matters for this conversation.
Why it matters, because they probably fall eventually under the label of man or woman, which is an adult human female. And it's
how does reproduction play into that part? How does reproduction play into that? How does reproduction decide that? Why are you asking about the reproductive capabilities?
Because you're talking about intersex and all this and that, and eventually it is biological, because biologically we develop to reproduce, and usually male.
No, we don't.
You develop male or female.
You don't develop to reproduce. You can reproduce if you like, but humans are much more than just baby machines.
But that's
if a man doesn't
to reproduce, self-replication.
No, it is not.
So what is everything alive striving for?
Being alive, typically.
Yeah, but they all have a function of reproduction. Bacteria reproduce, trees reproduce, plants reproduce, animals reproduce.
Oh my God. What I'm trying to get across to you is that not everything can reproduce, and that doesn't affect their status as a living being, or as a man or a woman, or any of those other things. It is redundant. It is irrelevant. It is pointless to this conversation. If you're talking about biology at large, we can have that conversation, but then you're going to be so fucking far afield of what we're talking about here. It's going to be a complete waste of your time. I'm telling you, as someone with training in this area, it is not worth your time to go down that road. It is pointless.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, to me, it's kind of like saying not every human has 10 fingers and toes. But yeah, a human typically has 10 fingers and toes. If they don't, something went wrong. So,
and you just hit the nail on the head, Jesse. Jesse, you just hit the nail on the head. The word there is typically. So if you want to say that women
typically.
are if you want to say women are typically females, I would agree with you, because about 1% of the population is transgender.
Yeah, when they're not.
So yeah, women are typically
this is
anatomically female. Women are typically chromosomally female, but not always.
Yes.
Women typically have XX
and
chromosomes.
When they're not, it's because of a physical. Yeah, but when they're not, it's that something went wrong, an abnormality happened. And what I think is happening with transgenderism is that that's an appropriation, or what can happen is it can open the door for an appropriation of these quote unquote intersex people.
So your complaint at this moment
is a mental.
Your complaint at this moment is that rather than accepting the academic consensus that sex and gender are different things and not necessarily congruent, something that literally every major medical association in this country accepts, the World Health Organization accepts, that literally basic biology textbooks teach, just rather than accepting that modern biology is correct, you are claiming that transgender people, for some mental reason, are appropriating the identities of people that you literally just learned existed 5 minutes ago.
Oh, I'm sorry I didn't know about a certain tribe. I understand that people obviously have abnormalities at birth, yes. Maybe I didn't know the term for it, but I did know about that.
You didn't know
intersex here's my problem with your definition of... Well, hold on. My problem with your definition of gender is it's more akin to gender identity. Yours is too subjective, because with yours, it relies on their self-identity. So with your definition, I can't tell what anybody is, because I would have to know how they identify first.
Let me just ask you a question. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm extremely tired and I'm pounding energy drinks. So I'm a little burpy right now. Pardon me for being so gross. Let me ask you a question. Let's associate this to something else for a second, because this is a very, very, very common misunderstanding where we talk about gender as an identity and then, or as identity as a factor in gender. And people say, well, then how do I know anything? You can just self-identify, whatever. What I want you to try to understand here, how can you tell whether or not someone is a Republican?
I don't know.
Are you a Republican?
No.
What are you? What is your political affiliation?
Christian.
Christianity is not a political party. I'm asking you, what political party do you align yourself with?
Christian.
Okay,
if
we're going to be...
Both parties can be wrong, and both parties can be right.
That's fine. Well, no, it's fine. We'll go down the weird route that way. How do you know whether or not somebody is Christian?
They follow Christ, I guess, by their fruit.
Okay, you so fruit. So you're saying that labor, works, what they do and how they act, that is what defines them as a Christian.
If it's in accordance with their claim of following Christ, yeah.
Okay, so what you're saying is that someone who is behaving in such a way that aligns with their understanding of Christianity is a Christian.
Yeah.
Right. So then Christianity...
But Christian isn't a biological... Yeah.
I didn't say it was, Jesse. Keep up. So Christianity is then a social thing. It is something that someone self-identifies as, and what their practice of Christianity, because there are over 40,000 denominations of Christianity, and there are plenty of them. You said it's all about their fruits. There are plenty of Christians out there that says that has nothing to do with it. It is only faith that matters, and that acts will not do anything, and fruits don't do anything. It is only faith. Whatever. What we agree on is that it is someone's, like, what they associate with Christianity. When they embody those things, those cultural, behavioral, religious practices, then they are a Christian. So it is a self-identity thing, right? Sure. Here's the thing. Sure. Because gender is a social construct, it behaves the same way as all other social, or, well, pardon me, I shouldn't say that. Let me rephrase. It behaves in a similar way to lots of other social constructs. I almost said all the social constructs. That would have been wrong. It behaves in a similar way to lots of other social constructs, namely that self-identification is a factor in all social identification. Politics, religion, lots and lots and lots of things. Anything that it has to do with your identity as a social person engaging with society necessarily hinges on self-identity. So because gender is a social construct, it necessarily includes and hinges on self-identification. Now, does that mean we can use it the same way as any other social construct, which is what I stopped myself about a minute ago, because I could hear the next question usually is, okay, well, race is a social construct, wealth is a social construct, and I identify as rich or Asian or whatever like that. No, obviously, different social constructs have different rules, but internal identification and who you sense yourself as a person, that is always a factor, just as it is with gender.
Yeah, I don't agree. You're right. There are different social constructs, and you're trying to align it with some relativist social thing, and I'm saying it's more aligned to biology. Because
I understand that you disagree with that,
again,
but now that I've understood, I was just addressing the one claim you made and making sure you understood that it still lines up with my definition and with my understanding of this. I'm going to now try to bring this back. Let's go back to this person with Swyer syndrome that I mentioned earlier. So this is a person who has XY chromosomes. They also are anatomically female, and we have plenty of case studies of people with Swyer syndrome getting pregnant and having children. So, do you agree, Jesse, if sex and gender are so uniquely, so intimately related and connected, and that woman is female, do you agree that some women have XY chromosomes, or do you agree that some men can give birth? Because this person is chromosomally male and phenotypically female and able to have children. So, do some men give birth, or do some women have XY chromosomes? Which is it?
So this person is phenotypically female, right? So everything about them on the outside is female?
Anatomically and phenotypically. Yes. They have they have female reproductive organs. Birth, right? They look female, and they can get pregnant and have children. And they also have XY chromosomes.
So it seems like they're a female.
Okay, so then you would say that some women have XY chromosomes, right?
Sure, and I'm sure it's an abnormality, like I said.
It genuinely doesn't matter, because we're not talking about normality or anything. We're talking about categorization here. So we agree that some women have XY chromosomes.
Categorize into
what about a uterus? What about a uterus? Is that a female thing or a male thing? Or do you agree that some men have uteruses?
Do you agree that it's case by case?
Nope.
See, my definition, it aligns with whether your body is trying to develop to reproduce by producing sperm or whatever, or if your body's trying to develop by reproducing by having eggs.
Okay, so then what do you do with
some stuff happens and it gets in the...
Oh, Jesse. So then if that's what we're going with, then what do you do with someone who has street gonads, which means they don't have either ovaries or testes?
Well, then you look at the rest. How was their body trying to develop?
So what you're talking about here is not actually... So let's say they have also Mullerian agenesis. So they don't have any female reproductive parts at all, and they also don't have any, gonads, and say they don't have a penis either. They're just a fucking Ken doll down there. What do we do with this person?
Can you name this person? Give me a case of this person.
I'm just trying to find where your limits are, dude, because my what I'm giving you is consistent with biological and social sciences. And you're giving me your opinion. And I'm trying to find where your actual line is. I'm trying to find where your actual line is.
You're not consistent. You're making up scenarios that you can't even name a case of. I'm telling you stuff I've ran into personally that I know other people run into. You're saying a person whose gender identity is aligned with social constructs they associate with femininity. What is femininity? It's based on female. So if we can't define female, we can't define anything, and it's all relative bullshit.
Jesse, I've given you case studies and situations that actually do exist. You're giving me your anecdotal evidence of things you've experienced.
What's the case study?
Jesse, in science, the plural of anecdote is bullshit. So, like, I'm sorry that you've met some people and decided that you know more than, like, actual scientists in this area. But that's simply not how this actually works. Just out of curiosity, and this is not to
real life. I'm walking around in the real world.
That's the definition of the term, Jesse.
So be it.
That's the definition of the term, is you going out and experiencing some things and writing down that this is just what I experienced today and not actually doing proper data collection. That is just anecdotal evidence. What you're giving me today is anecdotes.
And yours is denying that there's people out there like that. Yours is denying it.
What have I denied?
Bro,
I've denied that you're educated in this area.
Like, what are you talking about?
Like what?
Yeah, because your definition sucks. So
what have I denied?
A person whose gender identity, bro. When I brought up that there's men in dresses who are like, I'm a woman, you denied that happens.
I denied that it is as simplistic and silly.
You used the word boogeyman.
I denied. Yes, I used the word boogeyman because what you did is just completely downplayed and oversimplified an issue that you have no fucking comprehension of as the boogeyman that is presented on Fox News and Newsmax as some random mentally insane person dressing up like Klinger from MASH. That's not real. That's not what actually happens. And that is not what the vast majority of biologists, psychologists, and sociologists actually have determined about this. Again, actual scientists working in these fields are on a completely different side than you, and you don't have any data to go against them. You don't even know what they claim. You didn't know half of the words in this conversation coming into it. All you have is vibes and anecdotes. That's not science. That's not thinking. That's intellectual laziness and patent arrogance.
No, laziness is just going with what quote unquote science tells you. That's laziness. Thinking about what you've experienced in real life and questioning the narrative.
I actually appreciate that. I actually appreciate that statement, Jesse, because that actually is the entire point that I make whenever I talk about this stuff, is that transphobes are no different than any other science denier. It's the exact same narrative as flat earthers.
So.
I absolutely am, because the things you're saying, Jesse, if I were to, Jesse, I need you to shut the fuck up and actually listen to what I'm telling you, because you might learn something. What you're saying right now, if you just take the word gender out of it, I think for a living. If you just take the word gender out of what you're saying and say the exact same things with the exact same objections that you're bringing here, it would be indistinguishable from the arguments of anti-vaxxers, flat earthers, creationists, and every other kind of science denier. Whereas if you look at the actual science here, it's actually data-driven. It's actually got statistical merit. It's actually backed up by the best minds in this area. So you are sitting here on the... I don't know what your biology training is. I'm going to finish what I'm saying first. You are sitting here, and I don't know what your biology training is, but you are sitting here saying that all the best doctors and scientists in the world are all wrong. Every professional organization in biology, in medicine, not just in this country, but on a global scale, don't know something that you know just from your personal experiences walking around and meeting what you call men in dresses. That is arrogance and stupidity, Jesse. That's not scientific thinking. And when you back up your claims by saying, well, I don't just believe what science says, then yes, that lumps you in. Your statement, not mine, that statement lumps you in as a science denier who is just going off of their feelings rather than actual facts and evidence. Now you may ask me your question.
Yeah. Okay, well, I just feel like, first of all, you make a lot of assumptions, but here's my question.
That's hilarious coming from you.
Does science get things wrong? Does science get things wrong?
Your entire argument is assumptions.
Does science get things wrong?
Sometimes, sure, that's how it progresses. How do we know when science gets things wrong?
Does science change? Does science change? Does science change?
Well, you asked me a question. I'm asking you one back now. How do we know when science gets things wrong?
Well, hold on. I let you talk for a while, so I just want to know, does science change?
I answered your question. I'm now asking you a question in return. How do you know when science gets things wrong?
Okay.
And then I'm going to answer your next question, and then I'm going to ask you another one.
You're basically...
So you're not going to answer that question.
You're basically saying...
Because you don't know.
Yeah, I like how you went on a long spiel, a long rant. I asked you one question, and now I have to answer your question so you can go on a long rant again.
Not going to go on a long rant. I want you to answer the question so that I can then answer your question, and then you can answer another one of mine. So yes, science has gotten things wrong in the past.
You don't need to answer.
And now I'm asking. I'm asking you, how do you know that science gets things wrong? And then I'm going to answer whether or not science changes. And then I'm going to ask you another question. How do you know that science has gotten things wrong?
I don't know. I guess we've probably found out through various different ways. Like, I don't know.
Ways?
How did we find out? I don't know. What do you want? You want me to say through science, right?
That is the answer. Better science came along and proved us wrong. Okay. Now, your other question was, does science change?
Can we have better science come along? Hold up. You just asked me, and I answered your question. Now, can better science come along, and we can find out that your definition of gender isn't as adequate?
Absolutely. Now, I will ask you.
Okay, so then why are you calling me a science denier, a flat earther, all this other stuff, just because I'm saying that science might have it wrong?
I'm going to tell you right now, but you have to answer this question. How would I know? What would be the thing that causes me to realize that my current position is wrong? What would cause science to change on this issue?
Honestly, it could even be just people realizing that that's a bad definition. And then scientists going back.
How do they realize?
Like, oh, actually, we discovered.
How do they realize this?
Through thinking, through realizing that your definition.
So you think that scientists
realizing that this definition is almost like circular. This definition.
So you think that scientists? You think that scientists just sit around and just think and go, you know what? I'm going to believe this today. Or is there something external to the scientist that drives their opinion?
Well, can I ask you, what branch of science came up with gender, with the definition of gender? What branch of science came up with that?
I'm waiting for your answer of my question first. Is there something external to the scientist that drives their decision about whether or not they think they're right?
Yeah, sometimes there is. Yeah, sometimes even political.
Every time. If they're a good scientist, if they are a real scientist, every time there is one thing that is external to them that drives their knowledge about whether or not they're right or wrong and whether or not science changes. It's the one word that you haven't used in this conversation.
What's that?
Evidence. We need evidence. We need data. We need something to actually go off of. We don't just decide what we believe like you do. So right now, we had the situation.
I can decide I'm a woman. You guys don't do that.
We had
like
a situation.
That they're a woman.
I need you to try to keep up because you're going back to the same lazy talking points. They didn't work before. They're not going to work now. For a long time, we thought in biology that sex and gender were the same thing. They were synonymous terms. And then about 100 years ago, new evidence started mounting showing that actually they were different and that neither one was a binary. And for the past 100 years, almost since the 1930s, we've been learning more and more and more about this. We lost a lot of data in a way that you won't like being associated. But we lost a lot of data and we're still gaining that data back up. But we are still every single day learning more about this. And just like with evolution, just like with the shape of the earth, we used to think one way, but the vast preponderance of evidence and better modern science is all now pointing in this other way, which caused scientists to change their mind. Now, here's the thing. Yes, of course, science could change again. It has in the past. It probably will in the future about lots and lots of different things. The thing that allows you to decide that, to actually change your mind, is evidence. If you change your mind without evidence, then you are a science denier. that is still fitting into that box. You are still playing into the same bullshit strategy that didn't get you anywhere last time, won't get you any this time, and it still lumps you in with every flat earther and anti-vaxxer.
Yeah, and I think my definition is better supported by evidence.
Better by what criteria, Jesse?
That's someone
who's
Jesse.
Better by what criteria?
The criteria. Okay, let me tell you though.
Because
adult,
it doesn't apply to more people.
What an adult is someone who's past.
No, you're talking about vibes again. You're just saying the better to you means that you can intuitively.
We can't define adult. We can't define adult.
Can you? Give me your definition of adult. Can you?
See, you guys are on this relative bullshit where we can't even define adult.
I didn't say I couldn't. I asked you if you could.
Yeah. Let's see. Adult, someone past 18 in America, right? But it's usually associated biologically with someone who's past puberty, right?
That's a long and complicated definition. You accuse me of overcomplicating things. My goodness. Someone over 18 in America, but usually associated with past puberty.
Yeah. A fully developed person, right? And again,
just out of curiosity, I did want to ask this earlier. I did want to ask this earlier. Do you have, Jesse, any training in biology, medicine, psychology, sociology, or any other kind of science?
No, I don't have training in science.
Okay. So, just out of curiosity.
Have an opinion?
No, I didn't say that at all. Just out of curiosity, do you believe that the Earth is round?
Sure.
Okay. If someone came up to you with no training in science at all and told you, I believe the Earth is flat, and asked you if you've ever checked, if you've ever gone to space, if you've ever been around the whole Earth, or anything like that, what would you tell that person?
No, I haven't been around the Earth. I haven't been to outer space.
Okay. So if this person told you science has been wrong before, scientists used to think the Earth was flat, and now they've changed their mind, they'll probably change it back. And I think that's how it is. I disagree with the majority of scientists. I believe with the small proportion of scientists who believe that the Earth is flat, that's who I'm on the side of. And you haven't checked it. You haven't run the numbers, and I don't have to either. What would you think of that person? Would you think that person is engaging honestly and intellectually in this conversation?
I don't know, man. I'd just be like, I don't know. You probably have to tell me your reasons for thinking it, because I damn sure don't know whether the Earth is round or flat. I just believe what I'm being told.
Oh, so you don't know the shape of the Earth and you're just believing what scientists tell you? The thing that you accused me of doing earlier?
Is it okay if I believe it, or do I have to have some extreme opinion, quote unquote extreme, because in this case it's not that extreme every time? It's okay. I can't research every single thing.
What makes it not extreme? What makes it not extreme?
Hold on.
Jesse, what makes it not extreme? That's a really important thing you just said. What makes it not extreme to assume that the Earth is round?
Plausible. That it seems plausible.
So, plausibility. But a flat earther would say that a flat Earth is very
plausible.
No, don't. I'm begging you to try to focus here. Don't, Jesse, quit dodging to your comfort zone. Focus on what we're saying here. Quit dodging to your comfort zone. Focus on the train of thought. Focus on the train of thought. What makes it plausible? What makes it plausible? Because to a flat earther, the flat earth is plausible. So how is plausibility the criteria to say it's not extreme? That would mean that the flat earther isn't extreme either.
I don't know, because the moon looks spherical, so it would make sense that the Earth is spherical.
Yeah, but the flat earthers believe in a spherical noon too. They say that it orbits around the disk in a circle. I'm asking you, why is it not an extreme position for you to just assume, based on what the majority of scientists who study this shit say, but in this other situation with gender, now all of a sudden, it's your personal opinion that actually is dominant here, and the majority of scientists you are willing to ignore. Why is it that if you don't know what shape the Earth is, you think it's okay to just listen to what scientists say about it? And I bet you anything, you haven't done the numbers on plate tectonics, you haven't done the number on cells, you haven't done the numbers on germs, you haven't done the numbers on atoms, you haven't done the numbers on gravity. You don't have any training in any of this shit. So all of these theories are all just things scientists are telling you, and you're taking their word for it. So why don't you do the same thing when the vast preponderance of biologists all agree on this issue?
Because I literally can't do the numbers on everything. But the
you haven't done the numbers on sex and gender either.
Your definition.
You haven't done the numbers on sex and gender either.
The implications of sex and gender are different than that of someone thinking the Earth is flat. Because there's not flat Earth flags all over the Earth. There's not like.
I mean, they are different, but they're no like less spectacular.
Flags. Right, but there's like transgender flags in the school, in the workplace. This ideology is.
Do you know why?
To become very pervasive.
Do you know why?
Because it's being pushed. Because
there are transgender people who work in schools and other workplaces, and they would like to be represented and seen and heard and not ignored and marginalized and oppressed. And so we're showing a little bit of pride for them, letting them know that they belong just like everybody else. Same way that we do for lots of other historically marginalized groups. The thing is, Jesse, we're now almost an hour into this call. And for this entire hour, I have given you the overwhelming consensus of what scientists say, what I learned while earning my degrees in biology, what every professor and university and textbook that I've ever been trained with has all advocated for and taught me, what the World Health Organization says, what the American Medical Association says, what the American Psychiatric Association says, what the Endocrine Society says, what all sociologists say, what all anthropologists say, what every scientist who even touches this is taught and understands by the evidence that we actually gather, the data we actually run, what we actually know about sex and gender from a scientific perspective. And for 57 minutes, you have given me your personal beliefs, thoughts, feelings, and opinions. I'm sorry. We're not on the same fucking playing field, dude. And if you want to crawl down off of that high horse a little bit and actually be humble, you may actually learn something. Learning starts with humility. And I encourage you to try it out sometime. But with that, we're going to move on to the next call.
Can I get one last word?
Is it going to be something fucking stupid?
Can I get a last word? It's just going to go right back real quick to wrap this up to the beginning.
Is it just going to be your feelings?
No.
It's not going to be your feelings. It's going to be an actual, like, serious, interesting thing that really means something, not just what you believe personally.
No, it's not my own feelings. It's just a statement.
Great. What's your last word then?
All right. You define woman as a person whose gender identity is aligned with the social whatever they associate with femininity. Look up femininity. Qualities or attributes regarded as characteristics of women or girls. So it's a circular reasoning. Thank you.
Okay, if that's what you think, your definition of woman was an adult human female, and then you would have to say that females are women. So your definition is circular. What are we doing? If you had brought that up earlier, we might have been able to actually engage with it. Because there's a reason why what you just said makes no sense, and it would have been a fun conversation, but looks like you hung up. Shame. Try thinking sometime, Jesse. It's a fun time.
Might be a shame, but I actually had my finger on that drop button just in case that last sentence was going to be going.
Oh yeah, no, me too. Me too. I was 100% waiting for him to drop a slur. Yeah, like that. I have no problem if somebody wants to disagree with what every fucking scientist in the world is saying. Have a reason. I just feel like it. And I saw this person and I was an asshole to them, and that means everybody else should be too. The anecdote he has is, I saw a transgender person and I misgendered them. That was the anecdote.
Yeah, that was the anecdote. I think the big disconnect there was actually in the word better. He said, my definition is better than yours.
Yeah.
And well, that's why I actually wanted to get to, because I think what to him meant better was that he can personally intuit it quicker. That's what made it better. Not that it applied to more people, because clearly he didn't care if it applied to more people. It was just more that me personally, Jesse, walking around in the world, need a heuristic. And your heuristic is too much. Like, so, if that's his definition of better, then he's right. Like, it's okay. Good for you.
It's easier if you don't think at all. But also, give it a generation when this is a lot more normalized, the same way, something that we could have talked about if Jesse had been interested in actually exploring this. Like, what about homosexuality? There was a time not too long ago when homosexuality was considered a mental illness. And then suddenly, because science changed, because we got better evidence and reevaluated it, millions of people were cured of a disease they didn't have. You know what I mean? And so, like, if we're going to explore that, how do you know someone's gay? It's self-identified. Some gay people don't ever act gay. They don't act on this. They don't do anything. You only know by what they tell you, right? We could have gotten into the fact that trans people actually have like activation patterns in their brains that align with their gender identities. You can put them in a fucking brain scanner. And there's this really cool study that I loved, that you show them a picture of their body and have a computer image morph it to be more masculine or more feminine. And cisgender people, the same areas of the cisgender person's brain, watching their body morph towards their gender, towards their sex assigned at birth, same area in a transgender person when their body morphs away from their sex assigned at birth.
Interesting.
When it shows what they want to see, what they believe, what they feel. Like, that's really fucking cool.
Yeah.
And like, we could have talked about that. We could have talked about phantom pain. When you lose a limb, you have an amputee and they can feel that limb there, that phantom pain. Some trans people have been shown to have phantom pain for body parts that are aligned to another sex that they've never had. They feel phantom boobs and phantom hips and phantom penis and all sorts of stuff. These things happen. There's really, really cool science here that we could have dug into if Jesse could have just crawled down out of his own ass and said, maybe my limited experience as someone who has never been trained in any science whatsoever isn't good enough to make a broad, sweeping statement about 8 billion people. But like, fuck, man, that's what I'm talking about. If I sat here on this show and said, listen, this is all new science, and it wasn't around however many years ago, and that the universities are all in on it, they're all corrupt, and the professors only say this because they want to keep their job, they have to push the narrative, and this is all woke liberal stuff that's being pushed on us, and that at the end of the day, it's an agenda, it's not real science, I would be talking about vaccines. And you would think I was talking about fucking trans people, because that's all the same shit he said, because it's all science denial. It's all the same thing. It's so fucking lazy. Ugh.
You talked to him for an hour before he finally just admitted that he thinks being trans is gross and icky and that he did not have any scientific basis for his beliefs, but it took an hour to get there.
Hey, at least we got that. At least we got that little level of honesty, We've got plenty of people waiting on the line. Paul, I put a thing in the producer chat as well, if you want to tell me whether you agree or disagree with that. And then also, I was on the phone for a fucking hour, I think you should pick the next person as well.
Well, normally I would pick I agree with your comment there.
Perfect.
So normally I would say the theist caller, but this one I'm not. This one I'm not as sure that. You know what? I would say let's go with call 1 for a cleanser. How about that?
Yeah, sounds great to me. They've been waiting for a long time anyway. Let's talk to Melanie, pronouns she, her, calling in from Original Hipsters, who is advocating for a ban on the public expressions of religion. Melanie, you're online with Forrest and Paul. How are you doing?
I am super well and very excited.
Hell yeah.
How are you guys?
We are good. I assume something great must be happening in your life besides what's happening here.
Honestly, I listen to the show a lot, and Forrest, I've gotten a lot from you as someone who had like issues with like their identity and probably some phobias that myself. It's just been super helpful to meet that with science and support. Like what you do for humans.
We're all growing. Thank you. That really means a lot. We're all growing, and I'm happy to hear that I get to be a part of that. Also, I am putting in the chat. Somebody asked for a link to that study. I know it was in the super chat, so I'm putting it in there now. Someone said, "Do you have a source of the study about brain activation relating to shifting body image perception?" And I'm putting that link in the chat right now, so everybody can go check that out. It's called "Neural Systems for Own Body Processing Align with Gender Identity Rather Than Sex Assigned at Birth" by Majid et al. From 2019. Sorry about that. Please go ahead, Melanie.
I was just going to say, for anyone who likes South Park out there, Forrest, despite you being a soulless, day-walking gingivitis contagion, you're a fucking king, and I absolutely love you. You're beautiful, and that was like, I'm kind of reading off the script a little bit. I prepared.
Oh, God.
Yeah, if there's anything else you guys have for me, I'm ready to jump in.
Yeah,
sounds great.
Let's
I don't know what you mean by South Park fans. Did South Park talk about me? Am I that famous?
They talked about all ginger people. Cartman was being like super hateful to ginger.
No,
so
I'm
like
not
dyed
ginger,
his hair and
right?
made him look ginger.
I'm not ginger.
Either way, it was meant as a joke anyway.
I'll take it. Okay, I'll take it.
I'll start the call with stupid.
It's fine. What's going on? Like, what's the point of your call? Because I'm uncomfortable with being complimented.
Okay. So I am proposing in America where public expression of religious or spiritual beliefs are banned, as well as gatherings of people where their purpose is like discussing religious beliefs, laws, texts, or enforcement of their beliefs on others. Although I still think that people's right to personal spiritual religious beliefs are still would be protected and free, even though I'd personally love a full ban. I think the correct thing and the humanist thing is to allow them their personal idea, right? Like they can believe whatever they want, but that they not be allowed to express that publicly. I think there's like a reasonable number of like public gathering, which I guess would essentially cover the size of any family so that they would be allowed to talk about what they want in the house. But the en masse spread of religious ideology would be effectively stopped. And I would say the exception would be that if their religious text or ideology or whatever does not act in a way that is taking human rights from any person or any group of people, and it also would follow any current laws that are in effect in the country. So as long as they aligned that way, I don't think that the quote-unquote bad religions would be applicable. They're basically not being forced into
a million questions.
I couldn't disagree. I disagree with almost everything you said, but who decides? Who decides what's a religion? Who decides what's a gathering? Who decides what's harmful?
My first question was going to be, please define religion. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so I did write that down. But essentially, I think in absence of trying to find this all the way through, I think religion would be anything that's like supernatural. Like if you're trying to suspend reality for supernaturalism, that I guess would be where that would, I guess, end.
Can you define supernatural for me?
Yeah. Things that we are not able to repeat or that is not falsifiable. Like if you are making an unscientific just claim, fine, but you don't get to push that on millions and hundreds of other millions of people.
You use the word or, not and, right?
Ooh, I'm going to take your word for it.
I'm pretty sure you said it cannot be repeated or are unfalsifiable. And that's a big difference between and. So I just want to make, I'm asking you, which word would you prefer?
And.
So they have to be both. So they have to be both non-falsifiable and also non-repeatable.
I guess that it would make predictive answers that we could accurately predict. Like we know that if this happens, this will happen. And if this doesn't happen, then it would be false. Therefore, it is falsifiable.
So all I understand. All history clubs are banned under this definition, right? Like all the Civil War reenactors are banned under this definition.
I was also going to say philosophy is
not.
banned because every philosopher, that's the entire point, is you have just stuff that you are now interpreting about what you go on in your head and you pass it along and it changes people's lives. So like that's all banned as well. And anthropology, large portion of anthropology.
So then how would it look? I guess if you guys can kind of feel what I'm going for, how would that look with protections for people like myself?
Horrible.
And other people? Because I guess the next question I guess I would have for you to go away from what I was going to say would be how do we as a society put controls on religious influence where those are in opposition to like literal people's well-beings? Like I know that like
not by banning anything. I'm a free speech absolutist more than a lot, and I under no condition is banning anything going to be the answer for me. An executive order was signed a few days ago. I'm not American, but an executive order was signed a couple days ago saying that anti-Christian people can be watched, right? Because they might be terrorists, which means that if I operated in America, what I do is vaguely anti-Christian, so I could be watched, right? So I'm very much aware that as soon as you apply rules like this, that it is interpreted by future governments or future courts or future whatever. So instituting banning may sound great when the people who are doing the interpreting align with what you want, but you understand that that's not always going to be the case. Right?
So I guess I am on board with you with that.
So I don't think banning is the answer to any of the concerns. I think that the opposite is what you want to do, is you actually want to do everything you can to advocate education and rewarding things that are based in science. You can reward truth speech without banning false speech, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So my emphasis, my whole channel, everything I do from day to day is absolutely in line with, let me not for 1 second ban someone who opposes to me, but to be louder with my reasons why that they're wrong.
Because I guess I feel like there's people like the last caller who are just not they're not going to stand to reason or evidence anyway.
What could we have banned, though? What could we have banned that would have made Jesse be a more reasonable person?
I guess I'm operating under the assumption of someone who is like raised Christian. So being trans now and being like in the same, like I'm on the watch, like because I'm trans, the FBI has full reason since like January or something like that, February. So I have no privacy in the country. So to someone like Jesse, perhaps if he was not raised in an environment of Christianity and that sort of that sentiment was not publicly displayed, that there might be a chance for people to allow people to be people. And if they end up like reading the Bible and all that, then fine, right? Like let them do that.
But you're aware that that's not a uniquely Christian thing, though, right? Like you're aware that I know atheists that are huge transphobes.
Mm-hmm. What I'm trying to get across here, like bigotry is not unique to Christianity, nor is it universal to Christianity. I love your question there, Paul. That was a perfect question. What could we ban to change this dude's mind? Because at the end of the day, like people are gonna be people, and people are gonna be assholes, and that's gonna happen no matter what you put, like whatever ideological constraints on them. So, like, I have a slightly different line of questioning whenever you're done with Paul's, because I think Paul is cooking right now, and I want to hear what else he has to say.
Well, I guess I'm not on board with that the answer is restricting speech. I don't see historically where that has ever worked out well. And I am constantly in fear that my speech will be banned. And I would much rather nothing be banned than it be overused. And also, as someone who is raised Christian, and most of the people who I love the most in this world are Christians. You know, and I actually also know some trans Christian people. Like, it's just these are not categories that are necessarily appropriate for banning. Also, historically, religions that are persecuted to grow more. There's a reason why Christianity is shrinking in the Western world, but it is growing in parts of Africa and in parts of China. The places where it is being banned and suppressed by systematic forces is where it is growing. So I would argue that it's actually
helps a lot.
If what you want to do is get rid of it, banning it is going to possibly, history seems to show, be counterproductive in that way. So that kind of exhausts my current line of questioning for us. So I guess I'll let you your take on it there. What Mel's
I would love to hear what Melanie has to say about. Yeah, I'd love to hear what Melanie has to say to that, and then I have a slightly different question, and then we'll see where we go from there. Melanie, what do you think about everything Paul just said?
I think that I definitely appreciate the perspective. I called in with the mindset that I probably was going to say some things you guys would disagree with, and it's something I've been thinking about for months. So I'm like happy to hear your guys' opinions and thoughts on it, and for going with me on probably a train ride.
I'm okay with that. I love I'm not pissed. I love thinking these things out. That's great.
Yeah, great. I certainly fantasize about silencing people against me. Like, that's a fantasy that I entertain every now and again.
It'd be fun, yeah.
But I don't think it's a great tactic to actually
make you sit down and read a biology book.
Well, it's like I don't ever want to like oppress other people, but it's like
that is exactly what you're advocating.
Is like, well, I guess like perhaps I am to an extent, but it's almost in any religion, not just Christianity. Like, if they're proposing violence to others and it's like systematic the way they are, like, I don't know, like how many genocides are they going to propagate before we just like, okay, this is a large gathering is dangerous in the same way that the Nazis in a large gathering were dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, I've heard one last thing for us. Now I'll back away. I just heard the phrase "trans religion" multiple times this week, and so
there you go.
As soon as you're starting banning religion, all someone has to do is say that that's a religion.
Mm-hmm. That's literally what one of the That's one of the things
I'll let you take it.
No, I just talked for a fucking hour, dude. It's fine. But what you just said there is one of the first things I was going to bring up is that, I think it was an executive order that Trump just signed that, and I believe, Melanie, you may have referenced it, that, anti-Americanism and anti-capitalism and anything that's adverse to traditional gender norms, all of these things now get you on a watch list. All of these things are now considered terrorist ideologies. And I believe last week, we had another executive order that was saying that like trans ideology is a nihilistic, I forgot what the word they used. It was like nihilistic terrorist, whatever. And it's not that being trans makes you a terrorist. It's literally like advocating for the idea that trans people exist. If you use words like gender identity or preferred pronouns, now you could be labeled a terrorist. So these are all things that very easily could be labeled as religion. And then by your hand, you've now kind of fucked yourself over. And that's a big thing. Like when we talk about this, any kind of limitation on speech, expression, whatever, every time you make a weapon, it is a weapon that will be used against you. So my question to you, maybe this is a way that we can find some middle ground here, somewhere we can move forward. What do you think about the concept? We should be protecting and enshrining human rights rather than trying to ban everything that could potentially be a human rights abuse.
I mean, I'm for that. I guess like the last year has been super shitty. You know, like I lost a lot of money beginning the transition, so like experiencing all of that and really feeling what that was like, and feeling like less than half my yearly income was worth it. Like the benefits I like feel inside are huge. Like going through all of that and then seeing the government go out of their way to litigate and have like close friends of mine who support my transition and everything, like they legit, their answer is like, you're choosing to be angry. Like, don't be afraid. There's no reason, like you're choosing to be afraid. And he's like not someone that hates me. So it's like, it's hard for me to feel like I'm properly covered here, that whatever was in place, it was so easy and quick for Trump to like just erase, and it didn't matter.
Right. And what he erased
religion solve that?
What he erased were human rights protections. So those same human rights protections that should be protecting trans people also would protect religious people. And so if you just enshrine human rights and put forward laws that protect human rights, then you don't have to worry about banning certain ideologies, because having an ideology, having an identity, have whatever, these things are protected. Hurting someone is not. So if you have a hateful ideology, you're welcome to have it. You can't act on it. That's a very big difference from saying you're not allowed to think certain thoughts or be a part of certain groups, at least not publicly. So it's important to remember that the first thing Paul asked you is who decides. That's number one. Who do you trust in this world to decide what is and is not allowed to be practiced in public? Who do you trust enough to know they're never, ever, ever going to do that with anything that you hold dear? And also nothing that you could potentially hold dear someday down the line that you don't know about right now. Like, who do you... I can't think of a single person I would give that responsibility to. Meanwhile, if you just say, we are going to make sure everybody has the right to self-expression, to self-determination, gender, religion, ideology, blah, 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 sex, race, gender are all protected categories, protected classes. We're going to make sure that nobody can hurt people on the basis of these things. That is protecting human rights, not banning. Like, and I guess in a way, murder is banned, but it always was. And now you're just making sure there's a specific way you can say, don't do it for this reason either, right? It's a much safer and much better and much more inclusive and much more long-lasting way to try to get to the world that you're trying to get to. So I would just encourage you to compare and contrast those two approaches.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's a fun conversation.
I don't
I'm not
have
a
any
lawyer.
like rebuttal to that. Like, you know what I mean? I don't really have a good argument to that, or any like passing thoughts like, yeah, but he didn't cover this one like that. Yep.
Right. Well, I hope you think about it more. It's an interesting conversation, and call us back if you have any more you want to say about it. Do you have anything else before we proceed to?
All I was going to say was that I don't think that your friend's advice of just you're over exaggerating and just don't worry about it was good advice. I just wanted to weigh in.
Get a better friend.
I feel like everyone has reasons, no matter where they live, to be concerned about themselves and what our rights are and what we're protecting and not protecting. So I don't think Hakuna Matata is the right answer necessarily. Mm-hmm. So that's the only thing I wanted to leave you with, was that you're not. I don't think you're incorrect in necessarily being concerned.
To the person in chat who said ban stupidity, I would be out of a job. You see what I do for a living?
I would be banned. So
I would just be banned. That's great. And Melanie, any last thoughts before we move on to the next call?
Thank you guys so much, Forrest. It's great to finally talk to you. Likewise, Paul.
Thank you, Melanie.
Would I be allowed to ask a series of questions and just have you guys give a couple minutes of it, and I can like hang up? Like, I don't have to necessarily go back and forth. I would just like to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, we can. You don't have to hang up. Just rapid fire us. We'll give you a couple of minutes.
Okay, so I'm not proposing I actually believe this, but I guess to pose to the other side who is hateful to trans people and hearing a lot of statistics from the fucking Ben Shapiro's of the world, that I guess according to Google, trans people are statistically crime per population percentage much lower than straight white cis men. Recently, nihilistic violent extremists were proposed for all trans people, terrorists.
Yeah.
So since Minnesota, the shootings of the Congress family members, the dog, right? The healthcare CEO that got shot, Charlie Kirk, the Trump assassination attempts, and the vast majority, statistically, of school shooters are all cis white gendered men. What if Vance changed his words and switched out cisgendered white men for transgender? Since the data supported it, would that be okay? I have my obvious answer, which is like, of course, that's not how you would go about that. But if we use the exact same rhetoric on what the statistics actually support, what would their argument be to that?
I mean, it's kind of hard to answer this hypothetical because, like, their argument is going to be nuh-uh.
Well, I guess that's I guess right. Like, it's a simple like, I don't think there was much to discuss, I guess, but to them, that would be the question. And I didn't know if you guys had any thoughts on top of that that might be more meaningful than what I was able to come up with.
What you've done there rhetorically is called a reductio ad absurdum, basically where you've, taken the structure of someone's argument and replaced the elements, but you kept the structure. And then you kind of shown that argument is silly because that line of argumentation doesn't work because it doesn't hold universally. But the trouble is they won't care because that's not the actual reason they're doing it. Like, I mean, that's what I think that's what you're getting to, is you would show that the line of argumentation is silly, but it doesn't actually, but it's not their actual reasoning. So they're not going to care one way or the other, that they were shown to be silly. But I think you will have demonstrated for someone who's intellectually honest that that's not a good reason. So that might work in your conversation with a friend or something. What was Forrest looks tied up, but what was your next one? If I can maybe weigh in.
That was it.
Okay. All right.
No, I didn't hear Forrest, but I'm happy to wait for him if he wants to.
Well, I'm not sure how long he's going to be on.
When he comes back, he can.
Yeah, I'm not sure how long he's going to be on the phone. Actually, he's wiped me off to. So Forrest may have
I'm
something
still
going
here.
on.
Sorry.
Oh, he's still here.
Jimmy Snow called me.
Oh, Jimmy. All right. Fair enough.
And it was really weird.
Fair enough. Did you have anything else to weigh in on Melanie's question, or?
Yeah, it's important to remember there was I forgot who exactly was putting out the numbers. It was some right-wing talking point recently has been that trans people are like super duper violent and they're responsible for like half of all the shootings or something like that, or more than half of. And I forgot that I can find this data off in a second if you want me to, but like off the top of my head, I forgot exactly who did this. But I know what happened was they changed the criteria for what they qualified as a mass shooting to the point where they literally, over the past like 10 years or whatever, the total pool of mass shootings was less than 10 instances. And it just so happened that it was every trans person and then like 3 random people. And then they said, of all the shootings that we have now been reviewing, now it is more than half of them are trans people. And so the talking point is more than half of the shootings are trans people. And that's what it's really fucking stupid. That's all I've got for this particular thing.
Well, I appreciate your time, guys. Lovely to talk to you. Really, really appreciate it. I'm glad I finally wasn't working on SkepTalk and could call.
Hell yeah.
Thanks, Melanie.
See you soon. Take care.
Have a good night.
Bye. We've still got lines open only for theists. We've got a one theist and several atheists and agnostics waiting. So I'm going to say we will take one more theist call as well, and then probably cap lines after that. What do you think about that? I said in the producer chat.
Sounds good to me. And well, unless the lines suddenly jam with theists, and then our agnostic friends might have to wait another day. So theists
if 50
jam the
theists
lines,
call in, I'm into it.
or we can treat it like a marathon as long as theists keep calling in. Although Forrest will need to sleep eventually. But let's should we start with our theist that is on the line now? Are we ready for that?
To me. That's what I was going to go with next. So yeah, let's do. We definitely have with line number 9 and line number 19. We've got plenty of time to talk there. So if we just do those, we've already got a long show. But if I'm willing to do one more theist as well, if a theist calls in, and then we'll cap lines after that. No more atheists. Fuck off. Let's talk to Andrew. Pronouns he him. Calling him from nipple jiggling. Who wants to know why we are against Charlie Kirk, but we support Palestine. Andrew, you're on the line with Forrest and Paul. How are you doing today? Oh, damn.
I'm good.
Whatever. Sorry, as I took your call, I apologize. That wasn't for you. We had one person calling in to argue about trans people again, and they hung up again. Makes me sad. Go ahead, Andrew.
Oh, okay. I'm just saying, Melanie, she sounded like Kim Jong-un on the last call, but
she was exploring an idea. And it's okay to explore ideas.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So why do progressives, they're glad that Charlie Kirk is gone, but they support the Palestinians. I mean, the Palestinians' beliefs are way worse than Charlie Kirk. They're extremely transphobic. They're very homophobic, and they're extremely racist. They only want Palestinians in Palestine. So why are they for the non-existence of Charlie Kirk, but they for the existence of Palestinians?
I'm happy to answer this right away. Paul, do you want to start, or do you want me to start?
No, you go. You go for it. I just have a question. I'm just confused and I have questions, so you start.
Yeah, I'll just give you a succinct answer, and then I also will have questions in a minute. I am not for any particular religion or ideology or hate or any of these things that you're bringing up as ideas. I'm against genocide. What's happening to the Palestinians is genocide. Genocide is being committed against them. I'm against that. I'm also against murder. I don't think murder is good either. And for that reason, I'm not happy that Charlie Kirk was murdered. I'm happy that he's not hurting people anymore. I'm not mourning his death. I don't give half a fuck that he's dead. He was a piece of shit when he was alive, and somehow he got more obnoxious by dying. That's weird. But I have no, feelings about that in any real meaningful way. He was a dick. And if some racist asshole in some other part of the world is murdered, I'm not happy about murder. I can be, relieved that someone isn't hurting people anymore. I can be indifferent to their death because they were a jerk. None of that gets in the way of me being able to say genocide is wrong. Even if I agreed with your broad sweeping characterization of Palestinians, and if I agreed with you that all Palestinians are evil, every Palestinian is just a complete asshole, transphobic, hateful, racist, every one of them, still don't think they deserve genocide. That's a universal principle that genocide is wrong.
So you see there, so you said that how Charlie Kirk was, all those, when you called him all those names, you said he was terrible and horrible and stuff. Do you feel the same way about the Palestinians who are transphobic and homophobic?
If there is, if there are some people who are transphobic and homophobic, and they are doing what Charlie Kirk did for a living, which is spreading racist, sexist, bigoted, stupid lies and spreading propaganda and talking points that cause people to hate other people and to have prejudice against other people and to cause people to lose their rights. That was his whole job, was pushing political rhetoric that was objectively wrong and just totally fucking inappropriate and stupid. If there's people like that and they get killed, I'm going to feel the same way. Oh my God, I think murder is horrible. That shouldn't have happened. I'm against the violence. I don't think that this is a good thing. But I also don't care that this person as an individual is dead. See, this is the big thing, is that I can be anti-death and not mourn someone's death. I can be okay with somebody dying, happy somebody died even. There's people I'm happy they're dead, right? I can be happy someone's dead and not happy about someone dying or being murdered or anything like that. These are different situations. So with Palestinians, I disagree with your characterization, but even if I agreed with you even if I thought what you were saying was reasonable or true about them, I would still think genocide is wrong.
Okay, we do know that the gay and trans people, they have way more prosperity in Israel than in Palestine. You can agree to that, right?
I mean, relatively so, because if they were in Palestine, they would be the victims of genocide. So, like, maybe in that case, but it doesn't really matter. If Israel is super pro-LGBT, I'm just being clear. If Israel was super pro-LGBT, they're still committing genocide, which means I am still not in favor of what they're doing. It doesn't matter how progressive they are on all other fronts if they are also committing genocide. So it doesn't absolve them of anything. Bringing gay and trans people into this conversation really genuinely changes absolutely nothing, because no matter what religion someone has, no matter what culture someone has, I don't think that they deserve to either commit or have genocide committed, either commit genocide or have genocide committed against them. So no matter how beautiful and shiny Israel is, no matter how terrible Palestine is, genocide is wrong.
So LGBTQ people, Andrew, 1 second. LGBTQ people are way better off in Canada than in America. But if Canada started bombing America, I think that would be wrong.
Yep.
Okay, so you yourselves are not for you're indifferent to the death of Charlie Kirk. You're saying it's wrong, but his death specifically, you're just indifferent.
I'm indifferent to him being dead. I am against his death. I am indifferent to him being dead. I don't think that he should have been murdered, because I don't want anyone to be murdered.
You just don't care if he died. But
no, because he was an asshole. He was a complete fucking loser.
Okay.
So I don't mind the fact that he's dead. He spent his career hurting people. Now that pain is over. So for me, I have the privilege of being largely indifferent about it. To the communities that he actually hurt for a living, I would totally understand if they were actually even celebratory about it. But that's very different than being celebratory over murder.
Yeah, I get you. So in case of genocide, you're against genocide. You say it's bad and wrong. But are you indifferent for the transphobic and homophobic Palestinians?
I don't know how I can make this any more clear. If someone is causing as much harm as someone like Charlie Kirk, then they're kind of in a different category about this. Some individual person with a cultural difference from me, maybe we could get through to them. Maybe we could break bread with them. Maybe we could share something with them and we could learn about them. As for me, I don't know. They're a predominantly Muslim country. I'm certainly not a fan of Islam, but every person that I know that's ever met a Palestinian person certainly didn't have any of the concerns that we hear from talking points like the ones you're bringing up. But what I'm trying to get across to you is, even if these people were just wholesale fucking evil, I would then say, fuck, I'm glad they're not committing evil, but I'm really super opposed to genocide because genocide is more evil than whatever they're doing. Whatever beliefs they have, genocide is worse.
So you're against the Allied forces going after the Nazis in World War II, because in the bombing of Dresden, 500,000 German civilians were killed.
I don't know how
Allied forces in World War II.
Andrew, I need you to just try for 1 second to just separate the murder of innocent people with any part of war. Because if we're going to war against Nazis, then that's a horrible situation and you can argue about its necessity. If you pick one particular instance, like the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, horrific, shouldn't have been done, strongly opposed to the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I can criticize as well the bombing of Dresden. You killed a lot of innocent people, too many innocent people. This was a bad plan. It was whatever. Still against Nazis. So condemning one particular attack doesn't mean condemning the entire effort. In the same way that if we're talking about, with anything about terrorism, I can condemn terrorism and say you should go after terrorists and not say we should be carpet bombing all of Gaza just in case there might be a terrorist there.
Okay, so then how would you have went after the Nazis without civilian casualties? How would you have done it?
I would have done a fucking lot better than bombing 2 major cities full of innocent people just to prove a point after we already knew Japan was on the brink of surrender. At the end of the day, I'm not an historian, so maybe there's more to it than that, but I still think that a fucking nuke was unnecessary regardless, even if they weren't ever going to surrender. I think that's ridiculous. I'm not a military general. I'm not a tactician. I don't do any of those. I'm a biologist. I like my books, not war. But at the end of the day, even if you have literally every fucking Nazi and every member of Al Qaeda and every member of Boko Haram and every member of the Lord's Resistance Army and the KKK and every terrorist in the whole world is hiding in a kindergarten, I'm not going to bomb the fucking kindergarten. Like, that's the thing. And so when we talk about Palestine, I don't care how, if you paint all these people as evil, transphobic, terrorists, whatever, I don't fucking care how terrible these people are in your mind. I don't think that bombing hospitals and churches and mosques and refugee camps is appropriate. I don't think the fact that
I'm saying you're not for the you're not for the murder, but the people on TikTok are. They say that they're glad he was murdered. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not the people on TikTok. Andrew, I can point to you to just, I think it was last week, a Fox News host said on air that we should round up homeless people and kill them by involuntary lethal injection. That's a thing that a Fox News anchor said on live television.
Yeah,
do I need to now criticize all Republicans with this, or like what?
I mean, if the vast majority of Republicans are thinking that, then yes. I mean, I don't see why you shouldn't.
Are you telling me that you know what the vast majority, that these TikTokers you listen to represent the vast majority of anyone?
I mean,
besides young progressive TikTokers, maybe. I don't know.
I have yet to see a video of them on TikTok condemning this. I mean, they say that they're glad.
Did you see a video of myself and Forrest with our arms around them? Like, why are we answering for them?
Right. Change your algorithm up, dude. There's some horrible holes in the algorithm where you can fall into some terrible shit and see people believing horrible things. There's the dude, the older millennial. If you get on his TikTok, he fucking says that we should be doing eugenics and like rounding up all disabled people and murdering them. That's on right-wing TikTok. And I've seen plenty of people that love him. He has a ton of followers. So like, sorry. Yeah, there's bad corners of TikTok and there are crazy influencers out there. I'm against genocide, and that hasn't changed with anything you brought up.
Yeah, I get that. I'm just pointing out that it just seems like it's a lot of hypocrisy coming from the left. Like, you know, Charlie Kirk was real moderate in his views. He didn't even say anything.
No, he fucking was
crazy.
not.
Like, you know.
No, he was not.
The Palestinians who want to throw gay people off the rooftops and murder trans people,
Charlie Kirk, who thinks that we should be doing, or thought that we should be doing public executions and making sure that little kids watch them so they can learn to obey the state. Charlie Kirk, who said that black women. Charlie Kirk, who said that trans people don't exist. Charlie Kirk, who said that Palestinians don't exist. Charlie Kirk, who said that black women don't have the intellectual capacity to keep up with white men and need to steal white men's jobs in order to be taken seriously in the world. Like, Charlie Kirk, who said that the Civil Rights Act was a major mistake and that Martin Luther King was a terrible person. Charlie Kirk, who said that women should not be allowed to be anything else but housewives, and that one of the last things he ever said was he hopes Taylor Swift submits to her new husband so she can be a real woman. And that no one should be allowed to retire. I don't know and that British colonialism made the world decent. He advocated for fucking genocide and colonialism. What are you talking about? He was moderate.
And all that still sound better than getting thrown off a rooftop by a Palestinian because you're gay.
I can't stress this enough. Palestinians are not a monolith. It's just a nationality. There's plenty. I've met Palestinian people. Where'd you get that figure from?
Yeah. Yeah, you can literally Google it. 97% support Sharia law. They support that.
Where did you get that from?
Sharia law.
So somebody on Google said it.
No, it's a Pew Research. That Afghanistan, all of the Middle East, they
Google's
support
not a source.
Capital punishment.
It's just, and again, even if that were the case, Andrew, even if that were the case, there is also that here in America. Plenty of right-wing people aligned with people like Charlie Kirk, think that gay people should be put to death and that being homosexual should be a capital crime.
No.
So how many Americans should we be murdering? You don't believe
Andrew,
any Americans believe that?
No, I don't believe that.
Then you're
most
just
of the right believes that.
I didn't say most of the right. I said there are plenty of them.
Well, what do you mean by plenty? 6?
No, lots more than 6.
What do you mean by plenty?
Should those people be put to death?
No.
The people who believe that that gay people should be killed here in America.
No, they shouldn't be put to death. But according to leftists, they should be. If they believe Charlie Kirk should be put to death for the things he said, then they would have to agree with what Israel is doing to the Palestinians.
I've yet to hear a single person to say that Charlie Kirk should have been put to death. I've heard people say that they aren't sad.
Also, sorry, I just wanted to be sure because I wanted to see. Perfect. Let me see here. So here's this bit from Charlie Kirk here, who said that stoning gay people was God's perfect law. He was a Christian nationalist, so he believed in the Bible, quite literally. And he says, and here we have this quote, this is from Yahoo News, that he did say stoning people was the perfect law of God. So you're saying Palestinians want to kill gay people. Here's Charlie Kirk saying we should kill gay people. Does that make his murder justifiable?
No, it doesn't. But I'm not justifying. Right. I'm not saying gay people should be murdered.
And so if you say
liberals think that,
and so if you support him, do you support that?
Do I support what?
If you say that Charlie Kirk shouldn't be murdered, do you support his statement that stoning gay people to death is God's perfect law?
No, I don't support that. I don't support.
Okay, you also called Charlie a moderate. Do you think that's a moderate position?
Well, yeah, because he never advocated for any kind of legislation to kill gay people.
Yet he was 32.
Sorry. So he can say that it's a good thing to stone gay people as long as he doesn't advocate for legislation. Then he's still moderate. The question is, Andrew,
I didn't say it was...
if you don't think that Charlie Kirk should be murdered, even though he thought that gay people should be put to death, then I don't understand your problem in understanding that I don't think Palestinians should be put to death, even though you think that they're all hateful, transphobic bigots.
Yeah, but it's your side that believes that if you're against gay people, that you should be put to death. Nobody on the right is saying that. It's your side that's saying you're against
my side. My side is against the death penalty in all. Andrew, my side is against the death penalty. I don't think anyone should be put to death.
They were not against the shooting of Charlie Kirk.
You're arguing against this amorphous creature of somebody on the left. You're not talking about me. You heard some people say this, and for every one person you've heard, some person on the left said something bad, I can give you an example of a person on the right. And you, when I did that a minute ago, said, well, that doesn't characterize all the right. Okay, the shit you're saying doesn't characterize all the left. I am much farther left than any left person you've probably listened to.
Oh, no, you're not. You're not much to the left. You're not much farther left.
How do you know?
Whack jobs.
I don't think you know what my positions are.
Okay, but you said you're indifferent to the death of Charlie Kirk, right? You
No,
said
I
you're
didn't.
indifferent. But
I said I'm indifferent to
you
him
just said
being
you were
dead.
indifferent. You said it was wrong.
I-
Oh yeah,
I said
you're
I'm indifferent to
So
him being
how
dead,
come you're
not to his death.
Okay, so are you indifferent to the Palestinians? Can I get a yes or no? Being dead?
If you can point me to one specific individual Palestinian that was as racist and bigoted and mean-minded and cruel and ignorant and hateful as Charlie Kirk was, and spent their life platforming those ideas and advocating for a different world full of Muslim fascism, the way that he argued for Christian fascism, and then that person died, then I would say, yes, I'm indifferent to the fact that that person is dead, but I'm against the way that they died, the exact same way I'm against Charlie Kirk. But you are just broad brush painting. You are broad brush painting all Palestinians this way, and that's dumb. That would be me doing that with all Republicans or all Christians. It would be dumb.
Not all of them. Okay, what about the ones who do think that? The Palestinians. Let's say if it's like 2,000 of them.
They should still not be murdered.
And
they should still not be murdered.
They should. I know that, but are you indifferent to their murder?
No. We are
I'm not
against
indifferent
murder
to
in
murder at
all
all.
forms.
You
How
just
is this
said
so
you're
fucking hard for you?
Kirk, but
No,
not
do you think
No,
murder
I
and
didn't.
death are... Andrew, do you think murder and death are synonymous? This seems to be the problem here. Do you think that those two words are the same thing?
No, they're not. That's what I'm saying. You're indifferent to their death, correct?
To
Then
death,
please quit
that is
fucking
correct.
them up. Yes.
Okay,
if you have a group,
to the death of
if you can, Andrew, if you can identify one particular group that is hateful and evil and bigoted and blah, 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 then I can say, okay, I'm not sad that they're dead. And I would say the exact same thing about Charlie Kirk. But you're just painting all Palestinians this way, and that's stupid.
Not all.
Not all. It doesn't matter how.
Let's say 2,000 of them.
It doesn't matter how many.
2,000.
It doesn't. Andrew, I've answered this question 6 times. It doesn't matter how many. If you have a group of people that are as hateful and bigoted and stupid as Charlie Kirk, and they die, then I can say the same way, I don't want them to have died. I don't care that they're dead. I can say the same fucking thing. I don't get how this is so fucking hard.
You don't care if you don't care if the Palestinians are dead, the ones who are bigoted and homophobic.
That's, my God. I don't get how this is so fucking hard. I really don't get how this is so fucking hard. The way that they are being killed, is unjustifiable. So if you point to some individual and say that guy was a piece of shit, then I can say, okay, good thing that guy's not around, but also still these things are bad. It doesn't mean that I'm indifferent to the Palestinians being killed or being dead or anything like that. I really don't understand how this is a problem.
Why do I have to point to an individual? That makes no sense.
Because you're comparing an individual to a group.
Yes.
You're
Charlie
conflating
Kirk
them.
Isn't a nationality.
You're the ones who are coming in to say that an individual is the same as a group. Not us.
No, I said
every word out of you, Andrew. I am more convinced you do not understand anything about my politics.
No, I was just trying to test the logic. You said that if somebody's bigoted, if Charlie Kirk is racist and bigoted, that you're not saying that you're advocating for the murder. That's not what I'm saying. I know that. I understand that. But you said you're indifferent to how he died.
No, that's not what we said. We never said that, Andrew. That's not what
I said.
We never, ever said
opposite.
that.
What did you say?
Jeez. Oh my fucking God.
We are indifferent to the fact that we are indifferent to the fact that he's no longer with us. We are indifferent to the fact that he's no longer with us. We are against how that happened.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. So you would be indifferent to the Palestinians that are not with you, but you're just not in the way on how they died.
Well, yes, because I don't actually know the name. I don't actually personally know anyone in Palestine right now. So yeah, so
Palestinians?
The ones who are homophobic, racist, and freaking transphobic.
Are they acting on those things? Are they acting on those things and actively hurting those people?
Yes, they kill trans and gay people.
Okay, then they should be better educated and not murdered. And if they're already dead and they were a piece of shit, then I feel the same way and still think that murder and genocide are wrong. But all Palestinians aren't that way. The majority of Palestinians, I don't think, are that way. And even if they are, doesn't change a goddamn thing about wanting to stop the genocide.
Okay, do you want the Palestinians to stop being transphobic and homophobic?
If they are, yes, but not by killing them.
Okay. Do you think that... Okay, then how would you go about, teaching that to them?
Boy, I don't know. Maybe we could give them, their own state and autonomy and rights over their own destiny and maybe even food. And then they could become a part of the global stage and have a spot here with the rest of us in the free world and could learn and grow and adapt and maybe teach us some things too. And we could have the same cultural connections that we have with other free countries, and things would get better in some ways and worse in some ways, as it is all the time, because America is fucked up and does a lot of shit that other countries do way better, and a lot of other countries are fucked up and do shit that America does better. And we have freedom, and we vote, and we work together for a brighter future. We can make sure Palestine is a part of that. That's how we would do it. We stop the genocide. That's how we do it. How is this hard?
Okay. I mean, if they wanted to stop the genocide, I mean, they would stop attacking Israel, but
that's the dumbest shit. Andrew, I need you to hear me. You have said nothing but dumb shit for 26 minutes. That's the dumbest fucking thing you've said thus far.
Okay, whatever you say. I mean, you guys are someone,
Andrew, do you know who Richard Roundtree is?
No.
He died of cancer 2 years ago. Are you indifferent to his death?
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, I know you don't know who it is. He played Shaft, by the way, but that's fine. Are you indifferent to his death? Because you didn't apparently know up until 30 seconds ago that he passed. Are you indifferent to his death?
No, I'm not indifferent. Why would I be indifferent?
You didn't know that it happened.
He feels every death, even the ones he doesn't know.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want him to die of cancer. I mean,
but is your life worse now? Is your life worse now than it was 2 minutes ago that you just found out that Richard Roundtree passed? Is your life different?
I don't understand the question.
What do you think indifferent means? What do you think the word indifferent means?
Like you don't care?
Sorry, I did not hear you. You moved away from your microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry. Does it mean that you don't care?
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, it more means apathetic, right? Indifferent means it doesn't matter one way or the other. It's like not caring if that's kind of empathy for, it doesn't matter. Close enough. your life didn't. You were not walking around sad because of Richard Roundtree this morning, were you?
No, I'm not, because I don't know who that guy is. So no.
Yeah, cool. So in the same way, I can be indifferent to Charlie Kirk's passing. I wouldn't accuse you. I wouldn't accuse you of being pro-cancer because you weren't walking around sad about Richard Roundtree.
So
that doesn't make you pro-cancer. It
I
means you just that was
someone
that was an individual who wasn't in your sphere.
Yeah, I understand. I never said y'all were pro-murder. That's not what I claimed.
It sure sounded like you were just calling us pro-murder.
Always you're lumping us in with all these weird whatever liberals you find on TikTok. You know I'm not a liberal either, right? Like, I always be clear, I'm not a liberal and I'm not a Democrat. Can we get that out of the way as well? Like, while we're here,
okay, fair enough.
You know, there's a difference.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And I'm Canadian, so you know,
you're basically all Democrats.
We're
fair enough.
Our most conservative party
is a slur.
Yeah.
Okay. The people who are for his murder, are they evil?
Yeah, we don't think that's good.
Okay, fuck those people. What are we doing? Are we having to do? Are we have to apologize for every fucking idiot?
Yeah. And if every politician I've ever voted for is on the Epstein list, I want that list released. Like, these, I don't understand.
Absolutely.
Like, I'm not identifying with any individual human in that way. That's crazy.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's all I wanted to call about.
Andrew, do you know how many people have been killed in Gaza just in the past couple of years since October 7th?
What is it, like 40, 50,000, something like that?
65,000. And those are only the confirmed dead. 65,000 people, of whom at least 440 were confirmed to have died of starvation, including 147 children who are confirmed to have died of starvation. Those are the confirmed dead. Okay. That's not counting the tens to hundreds of thousands of people that are still missing and buried under the rubble. And here's a fun fact for you that isn't so fun. And here's a fun fact that isn't so fun for you before you say those numbers come from Hamas. Is that just last month, Israel's own intelligence put out a thing showing that this was a leak, I believe, a leaked document that was reported in The Guardian as well as 2 Israeli newspapers, showing that by Israel's own military intelligence, they say that 83% of the people killed in Gaza are civilians. Israel's own military intelligence says they have an 83% failure rate when it comes to getting the bad guy. They kill civilians 83% of the time. You for that or against that?
So, well, I'm against that. I mean, it depends. Like, we know that Hamas fights in civilian clothing.
So interesting. Well, so does Israel. So does Israel. If you'll remember 2 years ago, I believe, no, it was last year, when there was the footage of Israeli soldiers dressing up as doctors and women in order to raid a hospital and murder people there. So they do the same thing. They also use human shields and all the other things that they accuse Hamas of doing. They do all the same tactics. The point is, if you're not for that, if you're against that, then what does that mean about your stance on Israel? Do you disagree with everything that Israel does?
No, I don't agree with everything that Israel does. I know. So Benjamin Netanyahu, he has. Hold on.
So then you mean to say? You mean to say, Andrew, that you have a nuanced opinion about a horrible situation and that you can't make blanket statements about one side or the other and blanketly condemn them or paint them with broad brushes and all that shit, right?
Yeah, no, I didn't say every single, in my Palestinian thing, I never said every single Palestinian.
As a matter of fact, Andrew, several times over the course of this call, you have referred to them as the Palestinians, not some, not certain, not this one or that one, not this group, just the Palestinians. And then at the end, you said Palestinians should stop attacking Israel if they don't want this genocide to happen, despite the fact that 83% of the people killed in this conflict are civilians who are not attacking Israel. They're just innocent civilians, mostly women and children.
Wait, but at least at least Israel is doing like precautions. They do knock bombs. They give out QR codes. They do leaflets. They do door knocking. Hamas don't do none of that. Like when they go to war with Israel,
and yet, Andrew, somehow or another, with all these precautions they say they're doing, they still kill huge amounts of people in safe zones. They tell the people to go to a safe zone, and then they bomb the safe zone.
Well, no, that happened
Weird
once.
how that happens.
They don't always.
It did not happen once. It has happened near innumerable times. It's happened near innumerable times.
No.
They've also bombed several clearly marked aid convoys. They've also bombed several caravans of ambulances. They destroyed the World Central Kitchen convoy. After that, Charity coordinated with the government of Israel. They knew exactly where they are. They were in clearly marked vans, and they were bombed. Doctors Without Borders has been bombed. Well, if you remember, I believe it was 3 months ago when that the caravan of ambulances was bombed, and Israel said it was a mistake because they weren't marked and they didn't have their lights. And then the dash cam footage was released, which showed that they were clearly marked with lights on. Everybody knew who they were, and the IDF just bombed them, shot the shit out of them, lit them up, and then bulldozed the ambulances and the dead bodies into a mass grave. They knew exactly what they were doing. You haven't been looking for it, but there are several reports from Israeli soldiers about how they shoot innocent people at aid sites, and there are reports from American contractors at those same aid sites saying, yes, we and the Israelis get to shoot these unarmed people. There are no other weapons. We just get to shoot at them when we want to.
Hold on.
There are several reports from doctors from all around the world reporting from inside Gaza saying that they shoot at you if you're wearing scrubs. You have to be careful. If you look like a doctor, you get shot. Same thing with journalists, because they've killed over 100 journalists, and journalists have come out and said, when you wear your press credentials and your press jacket, you get shot at more. We find babies with sniper bullets in their heads in Gaza. Sniper bullets in the heads of babies. So not an accidental shot. That is reported widely by doctors in Gaza. And there are whistleblowers in Israel. Israeli doctors working in the detention centers where they kidnap and torture Palestinians, saying that you have whistleblowers coming out, Israeli doctors, saying that we are having to amputate limbs more than I've ever seen anywhere in my entire life because we are torturing these people so badly and leaving them handcuffed to their beds for days at a time that their limbs are rotting off. And not to mention the rampant reports of sexual violence in those same detention centers. So how much of this are you willing to forgive and excuse and not pull the same bullshit that you're trying to pull with the Palestinians?
No, I'm not. We know that Hamas fights from hospitals. They build under hospitals and civilian infrastructure all the time. We know that.
And Israel bombs hospitals.
We know that Hamas fights in civilian clothing all the time. We know you have gang members.
And so does
Gaza
Israel.
Who come and hold on, I'll let you speak. We know that that gang members commandeer these aid trucks. We know Hamas, they feed their terrorist fighters with with the aid trucks. We know they don't even bring their people underground. Israel has to look out for their own people. Hamas don't. They don't tell their own people to go into the tunnels while we fight Israel. They leave their people up top. At least Israel is trying their best to minimize civilian casualties. Hamas not. They're committing international war crimes all the time. They fire rockets into.
You think starving 2 million people is reducing civilian casualties? You think that bombing hospitals and refugee camps is? They are.
They're not starving.
Why do you think people are? Why do you think people are starving to death?
They're not starving to death. They're getting like something around like 4,500 calories.
That's bullshit. That's actually propaganda numbers.
Most of those, even the Hamas fighters, most of those Hamas fighters are freaking fat.
You're just spouting propaganda that the world stage sees as bullshit.
No, the UN gets their numbers from the Hamas ministry.
You know what would be really great, Andrew? Maybe we would know for sure, because I can tell you, why your numbers are bullshit, but we could maybe know for sure if Israel would allow journalists in without killing them.
Well, I mean, like if journalists are with sensitive military infrastructure, then yeah, they might kill journalists. I do agree that I don't think that's good, but if it's like sensitive military
why don't I ask you the same
site?
I have a question for you, Andrew. If every member of Hamas was living in your neighborhood, in your building, would you be comfortable with the exact same tactics that Israel is using in Gaza in your home?
Would I be comfortable? No, I wouldn't want to be bombed. Like what?
Right. Because you're a civilian, right?
Yeah, correct.
So maybe, considering the fact that America pays for this largely, other countries do as well, but especially America, we give them hundreds of billions of dollars worth of the best military equipment in the entire world, the finest, most precision military equipment on the planet in the history of the earth. Maybe we could expect this country to do a better job and not kill 83% civilians while waging their campaign across this tiny little prison that they have built.
So what would you do? What kind of sophisticated technology would you use? What kind of military apparatuses would you use? What would you do if you were, if your state was being, what would you do?
Maybe I would do some of the precision tactics that we have seen that both America and Israel are perfectly well capable of over the past few decades.
And you think
maybe I would do some legitimate counterterrorism and not starve children to death, not detain people without charge or trial, not use rape as a weapon, not use white phosphorus in war, not bomb hospitals and refugee camps, not bomb churches and mosques, not bomb safe zones, not bulldoze bodies into the ground after they've been found to be unarmed. I wouldn't bomb so many people. I wouldn't bomb so many people that I kill my own hostages more than they're released. I wouldn't wage war in such a way that there are multiple occasions where you have Israeli hostages walking through the streets, waving a white flag, shouting in Hebrew, "We are Israeli hostages, please help us." And the soldiers shoot them because they're so used to shooting people waving white flags, begging for help that they can't tell the fucking difference. That's what I would do if I was, in charge of this sort of thing. I would make sure that type of shit didn't happen. And I goddamn well sure wouldn't have an 83% civilian casualty rate. With that, Andrew, this is fucking disgusting.
Yeah.
And if you had any shame at all, you would be disgusted with yourself. But at the end of the day, you're going to believe whatever fucking bullshit you're reading on 4chan, and that sucks for you. The rest of the world will try to do better. Talk to you later, Andrew. Ugh. Just kept getting grosser.
He's right. Yep.
Yeah. Fucking Joe, who called in talking about trans people aren't real, dropped 3 fucking times. Called in, dropped, called in, dropped, called in, dropped. It's hard to tell if it's a connection issue or if he just got nervous over and over. Shame. Damn shame. Genocide's wrong, y'all. That's a fun fact for you. Science is cool. Genocide's wrong. We have 2 calls left. Do you want to pick which one we do? I've been talking a lot this show.
You know what? I think 17 is more interesting, perhaps, or at least a nice diversion.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's talk to Mel, pronoun she, her, calling in all the way from the frozen wastelands of Canada, who wonders what we think about some things. Mel, you're on the line with Forrest and Paul. How are you?
Oh my glob. I can't believe I'm on.
Yeah.
Welcome, Mel.
Hi. Yeah, so I am a former Pentecostal Christian, deconstructed a few years ago, and I'm now trying to get sober. And something that I've bucked up against in the sober community is that a lot of sobriety communities and programs really tout either God or a higher power. And as someone who spent a lot of time deconstructing from a very, controlling religion, I'm having a hard time reconciling my former life with this new life that I'm trying to create. And I'm just wondering if you guys had any thoughts on that.
Well, by all means.
Forrest is going to know a lot more about. I've been fortunate enough not to have had a chemical addiction.
Nor have
but
I.
But like you, I am a former, evangelical Christian, and who is equally disturbed from friends who have to. Well, first of all, I'll ask you, I assume you're not being court mandated into doing one specific program versus another, because I know in Canada that is a problem. Okay.
Yeah,
unfortunately, in
no, I'm
Canada,
not.
yeah, the court, as you just for the audience, unfortunately, when the court mandates you to these, they mandate you to one of the ones that requires this higher power element to it, which drives me crazy. But I also know that in Canada, of course, the options available to for addiction recovery is sometimes limited, and that most of our communities tend towards AA and higher power related ones, just because our communities aren't big enough to support multiple on a lot of cases. And I don't know this about you, but it's possible that is true. So my advice is going to be, I guess, was going to flow from when I lived in communities that was really the only option available when I lived in Saskatchewan, Alberta, and that kind of thing. And that's, pretty much Bible Belt. What my friends have had, secular friends have had to do is basically, in their mind, always replace this higher power with meaning and purpose, essentially, right? Because the science on this, as I understand it, is that what is actually helpful is not that you say that there is a higher power. And I even had a friend say, well, I just imagine that my lamp is a higher power. I was like, well, that doesn't really help you, right? Like, the people who I know who have been through this, they say replace the words meaning and purpose, so that I don't know if it might be a child or a relationship or a cause or just some aspect of the community that you find valuable beyond yourself, because of course we're all prone to being able to minimize ourselves in some of these situations, right? That I personally, as an individual, am not that important. Is a place where I have personally been before. So if you're stuck in one of these higher power ones, that is the recommendation that I have heard that helps some people to get through it and swallow it without having to get in fights about whether there really is a higher power. Hopefully they're saying higher power and not actually God and praying and meditating. So there are things you can substitute. And have you had success? Have you tried that? Have you had success with that? Is that something that's not sufficient answer at this point?
Yes, and thank you for that. Yes, I have. I'm curious why. Not as if I'm not asking you guys to explain the whole sort of recovery scene, but it's just like God / higher power seems to be very prevalent, and I'm just wondering why, like, if there's any insight that you might have as to like why that sort of external thing seems so important in the realm and the like process of recovery. I'm not opposed to it. I'm just and I'm totally fine with like finding my own way. And yes, I totally understand. Like, yes, God can be a lamp and whatever it is, but still the speak and like the vernacular about it is really, it feels detrimental to my journey in recovering, from addiction.
Well, I mean, I'm going to let Forrest answer about what the actual answer is, but I mean, I will just say, there is a bit of a legacy in America and Canada, especially in that churches were the ones, going back to prohibition and things like that. Churches were the ones to take on recovery. Like it wasn't as much in psychology, and it wasn't as much in government fields. So it's a legacy problem from the people I speak to who are in this. It's a legacy issue, and in Canada it's especially bad, right? We still have Catholic schools, right? Like we don't get rid of anything in Canada. We just keep rolling with it. So the fact that it has always been this way is my understanding from the inside that is the largest reason. But there are also many psychological reasons, and I will let Forrest, who is much better qualified to talk about those kind of things.
I'm not a psychologist at all, but I would say it's largely the same thing as far as I understand it. It is just tradition and culture that included these things. However, that said, I was recently at BajaCon in Canada, and we had a talk about sobriety there with some of the people, and we discussed there are a ton of secular sobriety programs and secular options for this. So the reason why that stuff is around and that is there, I'm pretty sure Paul hit the nail on the head. This was largely taken on by religious organizations and has now just kind of become a traditional type thing. And it's more of a cultural thing than a practical thing. But there are plenty of secular options. We also have people on this channel. I'm pretty sure Austin, one of our hosts, also dealt with addiction and did go through a 12-step program and did use that, even though he is an atheist and he had his way of making it work and advocates for it strongly. And so you're going to find a variety of opinions out there. And I would encourage you to look up like secular sobriety programs, start there and see what works for you so that you can get better. And start your whole healing journey and everything in a way that makes sense for you and works for you and doesn't make you feel like you are stepping outside of your comfort zone in a way that you don't have to. Because obviously getting sober is going to be something outside of your comfort zone, but it shouldn't be in a way that's like demeaning you, changing your internal values, challenging your belief system, any of that shit. That's unnecessary, especially on top of how difficult that journey is as it's on its own. You deserve all the comfort that you can get in.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think it's just that like I did a lot of work to deconstruct and extract myself from an evangelical sort of stronghold. And now I'm in this other chapter, which is kind of echoing back to that previous construct.
So
and
if I may trash the God version for a moment, not that we're here on this channel to trash the God version. But if I may,
no, of course not.
With my small insight into this, so AA and programs like it, they do their success statistics based on people who earn out all the way through, right? So who get to the final chip, that's their success. At least in Canada, this is how it's done. And what they are allowed to do was to say that anyone who falls back into alcoholism, even if it's years later, that they just didn't complete the program. And so they do not include those negatives in their success rates, or they're not obligated to include those negatives in the success rates because they say, well, those people didn't implement the program correctly. So there is a bit of a false, it's over-reported that this is a successful metric. And they also do not do a lot of, they have not demonstrated in Canada that this is causation and not correlation. Because, of course, in certain portions of Canada, religiosity is extremely high. And so what you end up with is a lot of, people who have in-group support. In Canada, religion is one of those natural in-group supports, right? And so there is a lot of overlap that may may say that this higher power thing is just correlative and not causative. And also, the one last thing I would just pile on to that is that the benefits of the higher power appeal are almost entirely in the first initial months and weeks, is my understanding. And that the further one goes into their sobriety, the less that the higher power, thing is a factor. And in my head, those were connected when I started that sentence, and now I've lost what I was going to make the connection to. But all that to say,
I think
it's just I'm annoyed with how in Canada we deal with the higher power related ones, and that from a government official perspective, we actually elevate those ones when the science does not back it up, or at least the science is somewhat ambiguous on whether that's an actual help. That may or may not help you. Forrest's advice was much better than my just being angry.
Canadian I thought you had a lot of interesting shit to say.
But he is correct that there are plenty of secular options available in Canada, which is why I asked if it was court ordered, because unfortunately the court ordered ones you get no options, but as a private citizen, seek out just specifically secular help.
Yeah, that's correct. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, I think it's not court ordered, and I think that I haven't really. I mean, maybe I should just Google like secular recovery or something, because
you should. I did just while we were talking, and a lot of stuff came up in my area. So.
Oh yeah. Okay.
But use the word secular in there. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I haven't done that. Yeah, because anytime you just Google like sobriety or recovery, like it's immediate 12-step, or not even necessarily 12-step, but just facilities, but they're generally like, involved with a 12-step-esque.
Yeah, they have the higher power element for sure.
Prognosis. Yeah. So.
And partially because they need that for their government credentials, so it sucks. But if you specifically just Google secular alternatives to AA or something like that, and hopefully you'll find something good.
Oh, thank you so much.
Well,
I really
we wish you
that. I really.
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. It's two Canadians apologizing to each other. That makes sense.
We'll be here all day.
Perfect. It's perfect. I really appreciate you guys and this channel. I've just learned so much, and just thank you for the work that you do. And I'm pleased to have been able to speak with you tonight. Thank you very much.
I appreciate you calling and waiting for over an hour to get to talk to us. I wish you all the best on your journey. I believe in you. You've got this. You can do this. You deserve this. More than just, I know you can do it. I know that you fucking deserve it and that your life is worth it. And I know you've got some fans here in the chat as well. Some people that were saying some very nice things about you as well. And I know I have met several people in the secular space that have been where you're at and have gotten out the other side sunny and happy and clean. So I know you're going to do it too. You're going to be great.
Oh, man. Thanks so much. That means a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Mel. You give us hope.
Hi, Mel. You got this.
Keep being you. Keep being awesome. Call back in anytime. And please be an active member of the channel, of the community. Talk to people. Make friends. Get to know everybody. Because I know you got a lot of people in here rooting for you.
Okay, for sure. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Take care, Mel.
Thanks.
Bye. I'm going to hug somebody through the internet right now, and it's hard.
Right.
We got one call left. One call left. And then we do the super chats, and then I'm going to fall asleep because I swear to God, I swear to every God I've ever argued against. When you were talking to Mel, a fucking cat ran out from under my desk.
Uh-oh.
I don't have a fucking cat. I don't have a cat.
Oh, wow.
There's not a cat here. I'm in a sealed room. I should probably sleep. Let's take one more call, and then we'll do the super chats.
Or believe in a cat god.
Let's talk to Sam. Yeah, let's talk to Sam. Pronouns they, them. Calling in from Nipple Crust. who's deconverting and wants to talk to us about it. Sam, you are on the line with Forrest and Paul. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. You gotta go catch that sleep gremlin cat.
The ghost cat, yo. Whoo.
Yeah.
Man, my blood is like 30% Monster Energy drink right now, but by God, I got some shit done.
You did, man. Though I hope you get some rest soon. And in the spirit of that, I will definitely try to keep this short so that you can.
No, don't be boring. Let's talk. What's going on, Sam?
Well, so I'm in the process of, I guess, deconstructing, deconverting. I've called in before, kind of asking about like family issues, but this is a bit more personal. And I was kind of hoping that Paul and you may have some thoughts on this. To kind of give a little bit of a background here, until my preteen years, I was raised in I know this word gets tossed around a lot these days, but in a cult environment, like a little home church that was kind of this mix of fundamentalism and Judaism kind of together. A lot of fear, a lot of, power, control dynamics, all this good stuff. And when I was young, we they really hammered into us stuff about the end times, like making us watch videos and, stuff that talked about, like, Christians being persecuted and, if you get left behind, you'll be tortured for your faith and blah, 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 blah. And like going into depth about like how people are going to be killed and, all this stuff that's going to happen in the end times. And like, as a rational adult now that I'm, pulling away from that, like, obviously I don't believe that giant scorpions are going to come across the earth that are the size of dragons and kill people or anything. But, a lot of what we were taught was very Middle East centric, let's put it that way. And very, the world is going to turn against Israel, and that's when you'll know that Jesus is coming back, blah, 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 blah. And I realized that wars have broken out in the Middle East before. Logically, I can look at that stuff and be like, yes, this has happened before. It's kind of like the wars and rumors of wars thing. Like, okay, when's a point in history when that hasn't been happening, right? Or earthquakes in various places. Again, when has that not been happening? But like, logically, again, I get that. But there's still this little kid inside of me, I guess, that's like terrified, that's like, oh my God, especially when I get people that come to my door and are like, are you prepared for the end times? And I'm like, God damn it, I'm just trying to work, man. Can you leave me alone?
Right.
Like, and I guess I'm just wondering, like, does that ever go away? Like, does the fear ever, like, the fear of hell and, I'm in the wrong and something's going to happen and the end times is going to happen and, you're going to be like, this horrible person or you're going to be, tortured and, all this other stuff, like these nightmares that they told us about, like, does that ever go away or is there like, I don't know, like,
I'm going to try and establish some cred with you before I start. So, I also grew up with a Mennonite heritage, a lot of the same evangelical beliefs. I was recalling in this past rapture, week of rapture scares, at least 3 or 4 occasions, I woke up from a long nap and people who were home at the start were not home. And I ended up running outside, in whatever I was wearing, because I assumed that because a couple people who weren't home when I started the nap and when I was done, that I'd been left behind. So I get that fear. I get that. I've definitely been on the terror scale in my lifetime of what if these things are real. Just the other bit I would actually say from a old Jesus hat side of things, when Jesus says in Matthew 24, you will hear of wars and rumors of wars and all those kind of things. Go look up that passage, Matthew 24. I forget where it is in there. But it will be, see that you are not troubled. All these things must come to a pass. The end is not yet. That is actually, churches really misuse the wars and rumors of wars. Jesus is saying all that stuff's always going to happen. Those are not the actual signs. So, even if you want to keep with your pre-deconstructed self, also that the rapture in and of itself is really only come about in the last couple hundred years of theology, relatively speaking. So if you want to first just check out all that kind of stuff, if the end time stuff scares you, there's a lot of believing Christians who will tell you that the evangelical notion about rapture is not biblical, is not what Jesus taught, and is not how that's all going to go down. So if you want to stick to the God side of things, I would encourage you to go that route. If you are coming to the side of, go ahead. I'll pause there for a minute.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I'm definitely not. I don't know. I'm kind of in the. If there's something out there, they're probably pretty cruel. But if there's something I guess I'm in the I don't know, but I'm definitely not. To the dismay of my parents, I'm definitely not Christian anymore. But I do I actually went to theological school for a while. So the whole, oh God, what was it called? Millennial predispensational, whatever. Those big humongous long words that are basically, we believe in it or we don't. It's frustrating because the logical side of it, and especially when you look at Revelation and you're like, okay, so most of this was about Nero or you had a fever dream that you decided to write down and scare the rest of us with. Thanks. Logically, I can look at that and agree or I get it, but then this shit comes up and it's this stupid irrational fear that just seizes, and I'm like, when does that stop? When is there a way to get past that? Is there because you said that you dealt with that rapture fear, is there a way that you
I've talked to a lot of people about this because fear of hell. So I'm going to substitute hell for rapture because I feel like that is actually the more common question. And if you can, I don't know if it's the same for you, but if we die before the rapture, right, that is the fate we thought was happening to non-believers anyway. So fear of hell for me was the last thing to go. And for a lot of people that I talk to is the last thing to go. And I would say the only thing that gets you through it is time. Unfortunately, there isn't a shortcut to when will I stop having an irrational fear. Now, what you can do with anyone, anyone with a phobia, I deal with phobias in my own life. What you can do is when those panic attacks come on, you can kind of ground yourself. Okay, what are the things that I know? And it's well, do I know that God exists? Maybe, I don't know where you're at with that, but maybe not. But do I know pretty much for a fact that, hell isn't real? And I'd gotten to the point where I knew that intellectually, okay, hell wasn't real. It's really just grounding yourself in those panic attack moments about things that you can rely on. Or even if you can say, well, I don't know that hell is true. You can still call that an irrational fear, right? It's not dissimilar to people who are afraid of plane crashes, who get on planes or some of those other things. It may be, this is you kind of remind yourself, this is a thing I really shouldn't be worried about because the percentage that it's going to happen is so low. My encouraging word would be that yes, everyone who I know who's had enough time, that eventually at least fades. Maybe it doesn't go away completely, but it at least fades with time. But sadly, I've yet to come across any answer that wasn't just, you need to let the time pass. It's not as encouraging as one might be. I know it's kind of similar to, the whole campaign, the It Gets Better campaign that happened a few years back. It's not very comforting while you're in it, other than to know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. So I guess that's what I'm offering you tonight, Sam, is that everyone I've spoken to, it eventually happens, but for some people it happens in weeks. So for me, it took 6 years for that fear of hell thing to kind of go away. So I don't know. That's some anecdotal evidence. I know we were poo-pooing anecdotal evidence earlier, but that's what I can offer at this point. Is that helpful in any way?
Yeah, because I mean, at least it's hope that like other people have been through this and that there's a possibility of it getting better, that it doesn't last forever,
And part of it does come, I would encourage you to study about hell. Bart Ehrman has a great book on hell, and the end times, that is kind of sometimes learning about the origins of these theologies can help you demystify it, or whatever. Like you can kind of learn that, in this century these specific individuals took these passages and interpreted it this way to make us think that there's hell, and that's where the origin of hell comes. Well, if you're able to, perhaps leaning into the fears about either rapture or hell, might help you be less afraid of it, right? Like the people who are afraid of spiders, sometimes the more they learn about spiders, that kind of like removes some of that unknown and some of the fear. So that is another. Yeah. I would recommend Bart Ehrman's book. It's great on both end times and hell, just kind of exploring from a secular perspective. Let me look it up 1 second. Forrest, did you have anything to add on that?
I would just say that like I don't really have a lot of religious trauma in this way, but my wife does. She was very Christian when I met her. And there are still times where she's like, gets a little bit freaked out for a second and thinks about these things. Just last week, we had the whole rapture thing here in the US, and I don't know how far that spread. I know a lot of people in the US were talking about it because some fucking idiot who didn't read the parts of the Bible all about how no one will know the day or the hour. And Jesus says specifically in Luke, you will be surprised by it. You will. He says in Matthew, nobody knows the day or the hour. He says in Mark, even I don't know the day or the hour. And he says in Luke, it's just like before the flood. Nobody fucking knew it was happening. And then it fucking happened out of nowhere. And that's what it's going to be like. And then also, Paul was right that I know some biblical scholars that say that the whole concept of the rapture and all that shit is a new addition, just like the modern concepts of hell and modern concepts of all sorts of things are new additions to the Bible and to the belief system, and so it's not even original ideas. That said, I think that the way I see it and the way that I understand it from how I've interacted with it and the people that I've talked to relate it to something that I do have a lot of experience with. I think that religious trauma seems to work a lot like grief. That's something that I'm very familiar with grief, and I can understand it in that context. Grief isn't just a thing that happens to you and then you get better, right? It never really fully goes away. Or maybe it might. Who knows? But like, one of the better ways I've heard it is that you're standing in the ocean and sometimes the water is so low you barely notice it. Then sometimes the tide comes in and it's up over your head. for a moment, and that is horrible. And then, other times you're just kind of waiting around in it, and you kind of forget that it's even there. You just get used to it. And it's that's the way that I see it when people talk about it a lot. Grief is this thing that you visit from time to time. And I feel like religious trauma is similar. It's something that you just kind of are reminded of, and you go back and you visit it for a moment. And sometimes it's easy and sometimes it's not, but it's part of who you are. It's a major thing in your life, and it was part of your life for years, maybe decades. You can't expect to be over it in a matter of days or weeks. And depending on how big of an impact it made on you, it might demand more attention. And when you say that, it could sound pretty fucking miserable. It can sound like, oh, fuck, well, I'm trapped now. But it also can sound like something that you can now take ownership of and something that you can now navigate. I really like this quote from Abraham Lincoln. He had a lot of grief in his life as well. And something that he wrote was, in this sad world of ours, sorrow comes to all. And he talked about this for a while. And then he says, you cannot now believe that you will ever feel better. Is this not the truth? And yet, it is a mistake. You are sure to be happy again. And to know this, to really believe it, will make you less miserable now. I have had enough experience to know what I say, and you need only to believe it to feel better at once. And I like that a lot, to say, even in these moments where this trauma, where this religious background, when this scarring, it's what it is, it's a fucking scar, is starting to ache in the rain. In that moment, you can know, even if you're suffering, you can know that this is a thing that you can overcome and will overcome, and that the tide will go back out and you will be better. And just in that moment, miserable as you may be, knowing that the roller coaster will end and you are going to be okay eventually, makes that moment a bit less terrible. Also, Tetris. Tetris helps a lot.
I'll have to look into Tetris. Thanks.
Tetris got me through some shit. No, I'm dead serious. Tetris got me through a lot of grief in my life. It helps. More than you'd expect, it helps.
Okay. I didn't know if you meant just gaming in general or what there.
I mean, maybe, but Tetris,
you can find your Tetris.
Let me tell you. Yeah. No, try Tetris, though. I'm telling you.
Okay. Cool.
There's something about putting things in order and clearing away little boxes as things pile up, and then you're able to categorize and organize them, and then they go away. It's analogous to the way at least my brain works. I think it scratches that itch. That's my hypothesis. I don't know if that's actually why it helps, but it fucking helps. And if I remember correctly, and here Luxander just said the same thing. There are supposedly, I'm pretty sure I've heard this before, and Luxander is now saying it, and she's right about everything, so I trust her. There are studies, excuse me, that Tetris specifically is helpful with PTSD, for some fucking reason. I'm going to look that up and double check.
Interesting. Okay. I will look into that. I've never played it that much, but, hey, first time for everything.
There's a couple things here. There's one thing from Oxford University Press here. Tetris used to prevent PTSD symptoms. Here's a study published in Journal of Psychiatry and Neuroscience in 2020. Butler et al. Trauma, Treatment, and Tetris. Video gaming increases hippocampal volume in male patients with combat-related post-traumatic stress disorder. So, apparently there's actually something to it. But I'm telling you from experience, it does something to your brain in a nice way that gets you through the really hard times.
Good to know. Thank you.
And while you're taking notes, that the book I was talking about was called Heaven and Hell: A History of the Afterlife by Bart Ehrman. It is quite a good book for just looking at it. And I guess the one last note I would think about is eventually it will become, you can think about how much of your life do you spend right now afraid that the Norse gods will come back, or that you will go to the Greek hell, or that you will go to, any other, like, well, you don't actually spend any active time worried that you're going to fall into the punishment. Or I presume you don't actively think you're going to fall into the punishment of, Islamic hell or any of these other religions, right? Eventually, as you become more and more confident that they are not true, again, the religious trauma is real, and Forrest is talking about it, and I am almost 10 years out, and I'm still angry every day. So, but it becomes manageable. It becomes the things you can manage, kind of like a Bruce Banner with the Hulk inside. So, yeah.
Most
hopefully you will find a path to some balance, I guess.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. Hopefully, maybe
we really
if I
appreciate
turn it into the Bruce Banner thing, I can get big and green. That'd be cool.
You're fucking sick.
Right?
The point is to try
Anyway,
not
Sam,
to be big and green. I guess that was the
analogy. Don't let him tell you what to do. You do what you want.
I mean, if you want to, you just stay big and green. Yeah, that's good.
Anyway, Sam, we wish you all the best on your journey. Please feel free to call us back if you have anything you want to know.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate you taking the time to take my call, and for the wisdom and time that you shared. And Forrest, I hope you get some sleep, man.
I'll see. I'll think about it. All right. Take care of yourself,
right,
Sam. Bye-bye.
Hey, Sam.
Luxander pointed out to me, and then a couple people in the chat also pointed out to me, Luxander put in here that they use it and they pronouns, and I misgendered the hell out of them, and if they don't fucking behave, I'll do it again. No, I do apologize, and I apologize in the chat privately. I actually didn't know, because we have never actually been properly introduced. They've been fucking screening for me and producing for me, and I never actually got to know them or introduce them. How crazy is that? I said, I'm sorry, I didn't know. And they said, it's okay. I'm realizing I never actually introduced myself. And also, I'm a heckin' cutie, so it's expected. Phenomenal answer. With that, it is time for the super chats. So let's get those on the screen. Let me move my chat box over there. And we can see what the people are saying with their money.
My autofocus is killing me today. I'm going to complain for... Just want to complain for a second. Anyone who's been noticing my autofocus is going in and out, it's driving me bananas.
Everyone.
Anyway, sorry.
Everyone has. No, leave the lower third up. I want my name covering part of his face. $10 from... Yes, leave that there for the whole show. That's perfect. We had $5 from Draven Dresden who said something, and I missed it. But now this one is yours.
Well, this is a good one for me, I guess. Love to see Paulogia here. He was a major influence and massive help during my deconstruction. Thank you, Lucy, so much. Appreciate it. I'm glad to be a small part.
$10 from the Atheist Mechanic. I don't think I'll ever understand why how other people identify is such a pain in the ass for these phobic people. It isn't hurting you in any way, shape, or form. It really it seems to be just this fucking, like, cognitive dissonance of, like, I know what the world is by my just base intuition, and here's something that is different than what I expect. And they don't realize that that's how all science is a lot of the time. And I love that.
Also,
sorry, go ahead.
I mean, yes, and so there's also crying game syndrome, though. In the community I was in, it's like, well, what if I'm accidentally attracted to someone?
Yeah.
What if I'm accidentally attracted to someone who is not wasn't born the way I thought they were? That makes me feel a certain kind of way. So when I was still in that community, people were more open with me about it, and that seems to be like a real thing. And if you've seen the Crying Game movie, you understand why that's the label. But anyway,
I see. Okay, I've heard that for sure. Like, where a lot of people, when someone's being really transphobic, the thing in the comment section is like, this person is just attracted to trans people and doesn't like that. And it's like, I'm sorry. What bothered me the most about Jacob's call, I don't even know if bothered me is the right word, just what stuck out to me was the moment where he had like some level of clarity, where he was like, well, of course I can't study all science, so I just trust what scientists say. And he said that right after a minute ago when he said that I don't know this, I'm just trusting what scientists say. And I'm like, first of all, motherfucker, I do know this. I got fucking, it was the focus of my independent research for my master's in biomedical sciences. I literally did a second master's with a focus around this to learn it better. And like, I don't just trust what people say. That's the whole point of this show and being a skeptic. And then also you're going to rely on that and lean on that. And but this time the scientists are wrong, and you don't get how that science denial it was just this fucking conundrum, just this fucking like weird lack of self-awareness out of Jacob. Ugh, what a time. We had some gross callers today, yo.
We did. It wasn't the best. All right, $15 from Red Shrek. Paul, It was great seeing you at NINT 2025, which was the New Insights into New Testament conference that I was at this last weekend. What did you make of Dale Allison's presentation? Well, on Friday night, I predicted that Dale Allison would make the Christians very angry and the atheists very angry, and Dale did both, and I was vindicated that I indeed was now a prophet because I predicted that. No, I liked his presentation a lot. Dale is very. We shouldn't go into it in detail here. I like Dale's approach that saying if this is good enough evidence for Christianity, then we need to apply it equally to all other religions. And that he calls out his fellow Christians and saying, you don't accept this in other areas, we shouldn't accept it either. Mm-hmm. So I like that about Dale, even though he and I disagree with a lot of things. So anyway, that's it.
Yeah, that's a good argument. $10 from Life is Literary. When someone challenges gender stuff, a good challenge would be to ask their gender. And if they don't fit with some typical gender attributes, ask how they are still a man or woman in their opinion. Yeah, I touched on that kind of concept at the very beginning, and I don't think that Jacob was there for it. When I was saying that the three of us, all three cis men, I guarantee have very different concepts of what masculinity is, what it feels like, what it means, what things make us feel like a man, and why. Like those things I guarantee are different. Not because I think either of us are wrong, but because I can say, at least for me, if you ask me what being a man is like, I don't know how to answer you. Like it's just I don't really fucking feel anything most of the time. I'm Forrest. I'm just here. And it's I don't know. It's just such a weird concept. And I know for fucking sure when people tell me what they think being a man is to them, when men tell me what being a man is to them, I very rarely agree with them. So like, I don't know, man. It's just I would have loved to have dug into that, but I don't think that Jacob had the capacity to have a serious conversation about it. I think Jacob was more concerned with what Jacob felt about whatever his feelings were.
Yep.
Yuck. Yuck.
All right, $5 from Joshua Everett. Did Jesse from?
It was Jesse,
or just did? Sorry.
It was Jesse, not Jacob. That's right. Pardon me.
Yeah. Did Jesse from or just admit to checking someone's junk in public? What a creep. Yeah, I think that that seems to be what was important to him. Was what was in people's underwear. That seemed to be his big deal.
Yeah, I wanted to, I could have seriously, we could have gone down the list and just gone through just every manner of intersex condition. Like, okay, well, what about, a man with persistent Mullerian duct syndrome who has a penis and part of a vagina and, all or some of a uterus? Like, what about that guy? What about this woman over here who grows a penis? What about this person over here who grows breasts? What about this person? Which sex characteristic do you care about? And I tried to ask him, I love the way Jovan phrases it. Like, what is the necessary condition? And he didn't have one. It was just the necessary condition for being a man or a woman was he thinks you are. Like, it's just so weird.
Yep. Yep.
$5 from Jazz Dog. Thank you for being, thank you, Forrest, for bringing up intersex folk. I am XYY. That's called Superman syndrome, or the literature is, I believe, Jacob's syndrome, but the colloquial term is Superman syndrome. And I think discussing our existence is a great way to dismantle transphobic thinking. I think so too. You just have to be really careful, because as a cis person, like, it's really easy to confuse people and make them think that trans and intersex people are the same thing. But I love using intersex conditions to get people to understand the difference between sex and gender, at least. But sometimes you get somebody like Jesse where it just doesn't sink in.
$10 from the atheist mechanic. Jesse's entire call was just, but have you considered nuh-uh? Props to you, Forrest, for being able to stomach talking to these redacted people. Thank you for the self-redaction.
If only I was more awake, it could have been a more erudite call. I could have covered more things. $10 from Ray Gatto. Thank you for all you do in the name of science and evidence. And Paul, have to say it, go Tiger Cats, # Canadian football fan. Is that a thing?
No, go Riders. It's good. No, yeah, Canadian football is a real thing. Go Riders.
Is it different than American football?
They're in first. So it's different in several ways. There's 3 downs instead of 4 downs. The field is wider and slightly shorter, even though they still call it yards. We call it.
Just to be clear, I don't know anything about football, so I don't know what a down is.
Okay,
either,
you don't.
Okay, there's
anyway,
a different
number. That's fine. So it's modified slightly to be better, handle cold conditions, and also to be higher scoring. Otherwise, it's identical.
Gotcha. All right, cool. Yeah. So it's like rugby is like football, but different, and this is also like football, but different.
Yeah,
I just only know it's similar.
In their own way, that it's a similar ball on a similar field, sure. But anyway,
I don't know what the sports are. I don't know anything about any sports at all. 0%.
Then you're not a man, Forrest. That's one of the definitions. It's on the thing. No one sports.
It's true.
It's
true. Is this you or me?
I guess it's me. 1999 from Zach K. Literally, why does anyone care this much how people identify themselves? I was screaming the same thing. What point is this caller trying to prove? If we had more time, when we spent an hour with him, I would have like, why do you care? Dude, do you care? If someone on the street...
I guarantee it'd be one of those things like, because I believe in what things are true, he says as he calls in as a theist. Like,
just, what the fuck? And also, I just accept that the earth is round. So obviously, like, your big commitment to the truth is...
He said something about, these flags in schools. So he was clearly trying to get at, like, this is a social ill and it's bad for children.
Yeah. That would have been a fun one to talk about too, because that's a big thing where it's like, oh, this is like a social contagion. It's like, hey, are you familiar with all the studies that show that it's not, and that you, like, when people tried to do that and it didn't work and had horrible results, are you familiar with any of that? Or is it just you trust the science on everything except for something that makes you feel icky? Like, goddamn, dude. $5 more from Life is Literary. Jesse is an intellectual powerhouse of the likes of which we've never seen. He's debunked all gender science by saying, nuh-uh, I'm crying and shaking. Man.
Indeed. 5,000 something from Horatio Lerda. Jesse is a dude that is constantly afraid that he will... See, here you go. That he will go to a bar, hit on a woman, and be surprised. So the government has to ban trans so that Jesse can be safe. I mean, I don't like to ascribe motives. I don't know that Jesse specifically is in that camp, but I do anecdotally know people who were in that camp, that was their primary concern. So, yeah.
5,000 automated rectum suckers. Thank you very much. $10 from the atheist mechanic. Jesse strikes me as the kind of person to argue with a mechanic on a problem with his car with no understanding of how to fix the problem. Do better, Jesse. You don't understand. It just needs a new air filter and an X chromosome, and then it'll work.
Yeah, it sounds about right. 5 New Zealand dollars from the great Monad. I suggest no matter how much Jesse says nuh-uh, I still exist as an NB. Nuh-uh doesn't make me magically not NB. Praise be the space beavers. I feel like Jesse could never even understand the concept of NB. I feel like that's advanced math beyond which I don't think he would be able to describe it to deny it. And that's me being mean maybe, but I don't think he could.
I would love to have the same like hour-long conversation in a context where for some like magical way he doesn't have to agree with me, but he has to answer the question that he's asked. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
I would love that. And just to really just see where the walls and edges of this not thinking pattern is. $5 from Mr. Boricchio at 10. Jesse,
50.
Going with science is lazy. Yeah. What did I say?
He said 5. I just wanted to give credit.
I'm dying over here. Jesse, going with science is lazy, yeah? So fuck medicine, fuck houses, fuck cars, fuck glasses, fuck clothes. Here's a challenge. Since you're being so lazy as to rely on science to live, no fucking doubt, go and live in the wild and see what comes. You know what won't come? Any fucking, I was going to say like any trans people to, I don't know. He's understanding the man. I don't know. I'm running out of stupid dad jokes at this moment. I'm eating pepper over here, and I'm fucking just dying slowly.
$9.99 from Terrible Liar. Here is some money because I appreciate how Forrest puts the effort to educate the bigotry out of people. I also appreciate that. It's great to be present for.
That's what I'm here for. 10 colorful ass dollars from Alex S. Sure, you have your science and your numbers, but I walked down the street the other day and saw/felt the waves of the monad. Jesse's shortcut to thinking seems so much easier. Monad, take me now. I'm getting fucking monad and Zerba comments on my channel, and it feels weird to have the inside jokes from different places just
converge.
blending. Yes.
5 New Zealand dollars from the Great Monad. Space beavers is always the answer within the energy of the monad. Science.
Yeah. Where did space beavers come from? Who made that joke? What's happening? What's going on in our community? $10 from Idiot Iconoclast. That's every person on this channel. Forrest, do you have a source for the break? Yeah, I already posted it. Shut up. I put it in the thing. I did it a while ago.
$9.99 from Overly Polite Rebel. Jesse says non-typical people are wrong and abnormal. If someone said, "Okay, let's say you're right. Now what? What do we not What do we not service people with abnormalities? No treatment for the 8-fingered person, or for me, like I'm left-handed. We should you're abnormal. Go die in the woods."
What do you feel about wheelchair ramps and elevators and fucking like so many other things? Just like does abnormality mean wrong? Like it's just what's crazy to me about this is like, I know I'm preaching to the choir, but like even if we accept the narrative, well, these people are all abnormalities and deformities. Okay, we make accommodations for that all the time. And then if you do the same thing with gender, if you're like, oh, these people are all mentally ill, okay. So is your way of responding to someone's mental illness, even if I agree with you, is your way of responding to people's mental illness to fucking berate them and yell at them or shit? Like, it's just so fucking, no, there's nothing that can get me out of the fact that it is just hate. It is just hate and science denial and stupidity. And it's also $9 from Outwitted by Fish. I have a feeling Melanie is a troll attempting to goad people into agreeing with censorship so she can claim, see, the left GM oppose free speech and are attacking Christianity. I don't know. Melanie seemed like there for the conversation, but it was a weird start, but I feel like it ended okay. I don't know what things are.
I felt like Melanie is coming from a currently hurt place, and that's a reasonable reaction from a currently hurt place. So I could be wrong.
That's
maybe I'm a sucker, but that's
no, that's an extremely good point. Is this you or me?
$4.99 from me. $4.99 from Overly Polite Rebel. My opinion is Jesse, not typical. He was born wrong, abnormal, malformed. I'm waiting for science to catch up.
There you go. There you go. Man, that is such a fucking that whole argument. Like, well, science has been wrong before, so I believe it'll be wrong now. That is the definition of science denial. That is what that is. And like that,
Right.
I wish I hear that all the time about evolution. Well, you didn't used to believe in evolution. Now you believe in this, and someday along you'll be. And it's like, say that about anything else. Anything else. Well, I don't really believe that the speed of light is what it is. I don't really believe that gravity is what it is. I don't really believe that space is what it is. I don't really believe the Earth is round. I don't believe say about anything else, and you'll sound fucking insane. You sound fucking insane now too. $10 from the Atheist Mechanic. If we're all on a government watch list, let me go ahead and just say that trans rights are human rights. Free Palestine. Being Antifa is patriotic. And most of all, fuck Donald Trump. Agreed on all counts.
Well said.
Cheers.
$5 from Space Barbarian. Banning public religious expressions would be a huge subsidy to satisfy the kink of religious conservatives with a persecution fetish. Yeah, yes. They already said this week, Christianity is the most persecuted religion. Well, okay. All right.
Yep. $9.99 from Outwitted by Fish. Okay, not a troll then. Censorship advocacy really sets my spidey sense a tingle. No, and you're right to be sensitive about it. You're right to be sensitive about it.
$4.99 from Becky004. Ooh, Ben Shapiro mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. It was a bad time for everybody. $10 from Matt Doherty. Much love to Melanie. Cannot rationally agree with the method. I would love to irrationally sit with it. Shit is fucked, and not enough people seem to care. I'm also tired of adulting. It is hard to be the grown-up in the room when everyone is just being hateful and bigoted and bullying people who are fucking already bullied to death. And you have to be the one to be in there with like a balanced and nuanced take. It sucks.
Yep. $10 from Godfrey and Good. Tommy, I listened to your call yesterday with Draven. He seems to think that he's some kind of expert. When you have conversations with real experts, are they the same kind of conversation?
Yeah. I have conversations with experts on a daily basis because I'm in more grad school for whatever reason. And no, the cool thing about having conversations with actual experts is they have reasons to say the things that they say. And it's not just, well, this happened to somebody I know. Well, I feel this way. Well, you just look around and see it. It's like, that's the thing that sets them apart. They may not have the cited study on hand at all times, but they know why they believe a thing and they can explain it to you. Not just, you just see it. You just feel it. You just know.
But I also know the more expert someone is a thing, the less black and white they will say a thing is. The more expert you are, the more gray and nuanced, no matter the topic.
Everything
doesn't matter the topic. Yeah, just less certain.
Yep.
All right. $4.99 from Becky004. What? Can these people please stop pretending that all Palestinians are a monolithic group that hates trans people? I'm tired of this stupid freaking argument. Indeed.
You and me and everybody else as well. You have a fucking lick of conscience. You cannot look at what's happening in Palestine and make any fucking excuses for it or make it a political talking point or a tool or a trap or a gotcha. It's just fucking evil. And I wish I was better rested to really give that conversation more of the attention it deserves, because that was fucking gross. I apologize to you, by the way, Paul. I realized immediately after I did it that I hung up on that dude without checking if you had anything else left to say.
No, because I think I let you out of the thing. I remember no, that was absolutely not. I also had my trigger on the hang up button because you never knew where those things were going. So I was good. Thanks, though.
Okay, good. Yeah, because I realized shortly after I hung up, I was like, I just fucking ended that call without my co-host telling me that they were cool with it, and that was a shitty thing to do.
That's all right. I host with Matt a lot, and it happens, so.
How dare you compare me? $10 from Godfrey and Good. I wonder if theists know when they're dodging answering questions, that when they're dodging answering questions, the audience knows it's because of bad reasoning skills and a lack of understanding the religion they're trying to defend. That is the thing. It's very obvious, and maybe it's just because I do this admittedly too much, but it's very obvious where it's like, you gave me a very simple answer at this point and a very different kind of answer at this point and no fucking answer over here. That kind of tells me what people won't say is so much more important than what they do say sometimes.
Are we done?
No, reading that one again. There you go.
All right. £5 from, is that still pounds? I don't remember. From Mystic Minds Analysis Tavern. Charlie Kirk didn't deserve to be unalived for what he said, but he did earn his unaliving through promoting his violent rhetoric. Reap what you sow.
In a large way, the motherfucker said that he was talking about children dying in school shootings. And he was like, yeah, well, I mean, some people got to die to make sure we have these freedoms.
Yep.
And then what happened? He died at a school shooting. That's what really pisses me off so much. We were talking about, like, you can not care that he's dead. You can be happy that he's dead, but celebrating the way that he died is a different thing, because the way he died was a school shooting. He was on a college campus when he was killed. So, like, and just down the road in Colorado, 20 minutes of it, within 20 minutes, another school shooting happened at a high school.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, if you're a leftist or you call yourself a leftist or whatever else, and you're fucking strongly anti-gun violence, I don't care if you're happy he's dead. I don't care if you're thrilled that he's stopped hurting people, that he stopped spreading his poison, that he stopped advocating for discrimination and hate and all that. That's you. Do you have the emotions you want to have? But if you're happy about the way he died, or you celebrate the way he died, then the next time I tell you there was a school shooting, you can no longer say, "Oh my God, that's terrible. That shouldn't happen. We need to pass gun legislation and gun." But you now have to say, okay, but who died though? Because I might be into that shit. Like, it turns out, like, it may be a good thing. And it's like, I don't see how you don't get that. But those people are few and far between.
$10 from the Atheist Mechanic. This call with Andrew will keep going in a closed loop. It kind of did for a little while.
It would go on forever. It was so... How many times did we have to fucking say, we don't care that he died. We don't like the way that he died. And they're like, so you don't care about the way that he died? No, we'll say it again. I don't like the way that he died, but I don't care that he died. Okay, so you're telling me you support the way he died. I'll say it again. We'll do it as many times as we need to. It's just a fucking nightmare of a call. I think this one's me, $5 from God's Sinner. So many of Andrew's calls cut out with me hoping he will change and then say something messed up. I have now given up hope for him, from Kara Kell. Yeah, dude. It's a bunch of people in the chat were saying apparently he said he was an incel at some point or another. It's those kind of the kind of argument we were getting out of him.
He calls and talks about incel stuff. Yeah.
No, that sounds about right. Just lazy and lonely.
£5 from Harder Gamer. How did Andrew get this brainwashed? Truly amazes me how he's not evil. Sorry, truly amazes me how if he's not evil, which I don't think he really is. Well, we all have bad beliefs. Well, we all have beliefs that we wish we didn't have at one point in time, or at least I think that's common. There's certainly a lot of things I used to believe that I don't anymore, and I don't know that made me stupid or whatever, or that bad ideas come from a lot of different places. So
yeah, no, I agree with that. And like, there is, as far as the whole incel thing and all that stuff, there is a huge market for preying on lonely young men and making them feel even more lonely and even more desperate, and telling them that the whole world is responsible for the lonely, horrible way they're feeling, and trying to fill in that emotional void with anger. And like, that's what I wish people like Andrew would recognize, is like, because it's hard to attack the ideas up front and say, you're just wrong, and here's why. What I wish they would take a look at is who is profiting off of my hate. Who is profiting off of my anger? Who is profiting off of my pain? When I listen to Jordan Peterson, Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, all these people that this fucking super right wing, and Charlie Kirk. When I listen to these people who are keeping me in the manosphere, and I'm listening to Andrew Tate and Joe Rogan and learning how to be a real man, am I feeling any more whole, any more complete, any more loved, any more wanted, any more connected, any more safe? Do I feel that I could express myself in a way that these people didn't approve of or didn't anticipate, and that I would be loved for it, and that I would be welcomed for it, and be understood for it, and tolerated for it? Do I feel like I can be myself in this space? Or do I feel like I have to be what they want me to be in order to feel what's the word I'm looking for? Accepted, welcomed, like I have a place there. There's a word I'm going for here, but that I feel like I am accepted in this area. And the second I set a toe out of line, I'm right back to where I started. And at no point do I feel any less lonely. And that is the market that they have built. Who is profiting off of your loneliness, Andrew? Who is profiting off of your misery? Who is profiting off of your pain? It's the fucking idiots you're listening to. Meanwhile, if you did some personal growth and healed, you would find a loving community that accepted you for who you were and allowed you to make mistakes and change and grow and find out who you are and go on a journey of self-discovery and hold your hand for that journey and be there with open arms when you got done with that journey, and you would be a better person for it. But you are sad and lonely and you blame everybody else and you buy into the system that keeps you that way, and that makes you fucking dangerous. I wish they would review this. I wish they would look back reflexively at this, and they never do. And if I should have talked to them about it. I could have done better. Whatever. We'll get it next time. We'll do it better next time.
The Netflix series Adolescence, if no one has seen it, is actually really good.
I'll check it out.
View
10
of
frigid
that.
Canadian
it's
dollars.
Stunning.
From Alex S. Andrew keeps using the word logic. I'm not sure he means what he thinks it means. Validated. Hey, thanks, Perch Dragon. Yes, validated is a good word that I was going for. I don't know if it was the word, but that's a good one. It fills in that gap. I was going for there's a word for accepted and welcomed that I was trying to find. Maybe those are the words. Maybe I just think there's another word and there isn't. But belonging. That's the word. We got a sense of belonging. That might be what I'm trying to go for. I'm extremely tired. I haven't slept in a few days. Kind of just taking little power naps for 2 hours and then carrying on.
$5 from Joshua Everett. How can a single person contain this much Andrewness? All right. Is that a word? Andrewness. All right.
Gold star for Starfire in the chat, who brought back validified. A word that I fucked up on a show. Who knows how long ago I said something was validified and have not and will never live that down. $10 from Resolute Decide. Andrew, you have two problems that severely limit you. First, I've never in my entire life seen the word first written that way. You view politics like team sports where you automatically root. That's the wrong version of the word root for anything on your side. Second, you have no method for filtering out lies. Yeah, it's man, community is another good word. Absolutely. That's yes. When you play this as if one side has to win or lose rather than we all win together. Absolutely. $10
from the Atheist Mechanic. Andrew is the poster child for the uneducated.
In the worst ways. $5 from Aliyah Shauna Silverbow. I haven't heard Andrew condemn cancer. He must therefore be pro-cancer. Hashtag Andrew Logic.
$5 from Verna Smith. May all of the people of the world be happy, peaceful, healthy, and loved. Cheers.
Don't let Verna Smith tell you what to be. You be as miserable as you want to be.
She wants to ban all the unhappy people.
$10 from Never Had a Bidet. Nice. Genocide is absolutely terrible. That's why conservatives have gone from facts don't care about your feelings to facts don't matter because of my feelings. Go fuck yourself, Jimmy. Yeah, dude.
£5 from the Fuzzy Logic. Mel's question has come up in the past when Austin Archer was on, and he talked about his recovery. So she may want to research those clips. Oh, great.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah, Austin was the first atheist I've heard say good things about 12-step program. It was really interesting to hear his perspective. So I think that, they should actually look that up. $4.99 from Taylor Lay in an Al-Non families lies meeting. What? In an Al-Non families lies meeting, we were told we can replace God with good, orderly direction. See it as an acronym, not the name of a being. Okay. Yeah, I can vibe with that. Just replace the things.
Yep. $50 from Mr. Boricus10. Andrew, you absolute dismal, disgusting, genocide-dismissing, immoral, unforgiving, reprehensible, uncaring, mealy-mouthed, bigoted, capricious, megalomaniacal goon. How dare you high horse your way while refusing actual data and compassion? Get bent. I hope I performed that one well.
Nuts. The spice was there. The fire was there. And if Andrew is indeed as incel as we're being told, I hope he really does get bent. Because, man, you tickle that prostate enough, all that transphobia and hate will flow right out of you. $4.99 from Taylor Lay. The higher power is just to iterate that certain things are out of your hands. I can vibe with that message. It's kind of like a stoicism thing where it's like you can't change what happens to you. You can change how you react to it and how you deal with it. And I love that philosophy. So maybe that's, if you put it that way, I could vibe with that side of it.
You can. I will say your mileage may vary depending on who's leading the group. That's all I will.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
$4.99 from Becky Girl 004. You got this, girl. I agree. I assume that was for Mel.
$10 Canadian from Alex S. saying, you got this, Mel. Thank you for paying us to encourage her. That's great.
Although, I think Mel was they, them, so we maybe shouldn't go. You got this.
Well, I'm just misgendering everybody today. I don't remember. I also don't remember what's going on anyway. I'm just all over the place.
$5 Canadian from Veeks. 5 more calls. 5 more calls. More sleep cats.
That's what I'm talking about. That's the spirit. I got a full fucking thing of pepper over here. I can keep going. $5 from Kate Space. I wasn't expecting to cry tonight, but here we are. Mel, you're amazing. Forrest and Paul, you're both treasures. Hope you get some sleep, Forrest. We'll see.
Sleep, Forrest, sleep. $10 from the Atheist Mechanic. Truckers talk about seeing a black dog if they get too tired. Maybe the cat is your black dog, Forrest. They associate that dog with an omen to pull over and sleep so they don't wreck.
That's a good idea.
This is the line we wreck all our shows at the end, don't we? Isn't that
that's what we're here for?
Brand?
We fucking falling asleep at the wheel and driving into a ditch makes a better show here. That's also why we don't encourage you call while you're driving. $10 Canadian from Alex S. Little Butt has returned, or did they ever leave? Spooky to Perpamble? What the fuck is that? By the way, Little Butt's name Tober Pramble? I feel like this is it sounds like a slur. By the way, Little Butt, his name is Newt now, and he lives with one of my friends from my undergrad who went through the same biology degree program as me. And I gave Little Butt to her, and she named him Newt. And he is, from what I hear, an absolute fucking criminal who just terrorizes her whole house every day and has just a hell of a personality and loves to be just destructive and wild.
£5 from the Fuzzy Logic.
June says in the chat that Mel is she, her, and Sam is they, them. So I was right the whole time, unless I wasn't.
That's on me.
You! All right. You are the misgenderer! You!
All right, £5 from the Fuzzy Logic. You know how some Christians say that you'll meet God if you pray for 3 days? It seems if you're an atheist, you meet ceiling cat. No prayer required.
It's true. It's true, and it's terrifying. $5 from Anti-Meridium. What a neat name. Try Tetris. Everything just falls into place. Is what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
$5 Canadian from Veeks. Lux. Shout out because I know Forrest misgendered you, but he also saw a ghost cat. So
I laughed so hard when this came through.
The ghost cat was transphobic. It misled me. $9.99 from Becky04. I too struggle with the fear of hell, Sam. We got this. It's one moment at a time. Try to find joy in the small things. Find a supportive community, a loving community. We will make it. Hell yes, we will.
$4.99 from Hannah Hodgins. Thank you all who work on the line. Always amazing. Monad, bless you all. Andrew, damn it, do better.
Good luck trying. Good luck trying. Especially coming from a fucking, what's the word incels use for a fembot or something? Especially coming from a female. He's not going to like that.
Incels and Ferengi.
$4.99 more from Hannah Hodgkins. I take back what I said. Andrew, get your noggin out of God's hole. And Jesse, oi, 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 please breathe some air. No more sniffing your farts. There's a lot going on there.
$10 from Sapphic Hazard. I really enjoyed Afterburn. That's my movie.
Hey,
having your work be seen on the screen must be a huge coup, Paul. Congrats. It was definitely weird to see. I mean, screen adaptations of comics are never exact, so it was like weird. My mind was always more about what they changed than what they kept, but it certainly is very cool to see my name up there and things to adapt. It was fun. Glad you went
with Dave Bautista.
Dave Bautista and Samuel L. Jackson. Indeed.
All right. I'll look that up. So sweet. You're such a sweet lady. Oh, I've got one of these. I'll take this, though. No, thank you. We're almost
read this while Forrest is gone.
You're so sweet.
$10 so Tini. Thank you both for being so awesome. I appreciate you sharing your experience, knowledge, and hope with me. And thank you for the book and Tetris recommendation, Sam. Sam, we appreciated your call so much.
My wife brought me lasagna.
Wow.
It comes in like a pizza box, little lasagna guy. Now I have something to put the pepper on. I don't have to just eat it plain anymore. I've been over here just now. I had this thing of black pepper next to my desk I found. I've just been taking little hits of it as we've been sitting here. I can put it on the fucking lasagna now. It'll be even better.
Don't fall asleep on the lasagna. You're going to burn your face with the cheese and stuff. Make sure you
tell me what to do. This is my house.
Lasagna pillow. All right, you go for it.
From Corey Cork. I love that quote of Jon Stewart was talking about why he doesn't eat deep dish pizza. He's like, I want to know that when I get drunk and pass out on my pizza, I'm not going to drown. I can't do that. It's $9.99 from Corey Cook. Still in the beginning of my second eruption. What is that? I'm the only one of my extended and immediate family that doesn't believe. Thanks to Paul, Forrest, Matt, and Bart Ehrman. I feel like I have a tribe again. Hell yeah.
$10 from Scotty Bice. Love you all at the line. Thank you for all that you do. Well, there's so many more people than are on screen, so thanks all of them.
Thank you so much for watching and being here. Makes the channel possible.
Yeah.
$10 from Brent J. Good job getting Andrew to take his fingers out of his butt. Unfortunately, he promptly put them in his ears. Poop ears. Don't be an incel. You get the poop ears. How do you feel about coffee tables, Forrest? I like them. I didn't realize this was an opinion. I like them.
Oh,
they're great.
No, this is when. This is when Shannon and I have an ongoing feud that is often bleeds onto the line. I am vigorously anti-coffee table, and Shannon is pro-coffee table, and it spills all over. So, like, worlds colliding.
Just having them around, using them,
yeah.
owning them.
So I am vigorously anti-clutter. I'm a minimalist, and I'm vigorously anti-clutter. And every coffee table that exists ever is a clutter magnet, whether you want it to be or not. It's just a place for clutter to be. And if you don't have one, you can't be cluttered. That's
true. If there's a table, I'm putting
generally
stuff on it.
What's that?
I feel like
if there's a table somewhere, I'm just going to put stuff there.
Yeah, so that's the thing. So if there's no table, there can't be clutter there. Clutter might be other places, but it's not like in the prime living room spot.
I feel like coffee tables are like really helpful. Like I don't want a bunch of them, but I want like one. And I don't know what we have a coffee table and we keep it relatively clean. And when I say we, I mean mostly Amber. She makes sure that I don't leave anything on it. But like I do have my office that I can put my clutter in a place. You know what I mean? I can have this room that's chaos for me.
Yeah, I just feel like your definition of relatively clean and my definition of relatively clean are probably not the same.
Maybe. $9.99.
My only definition is empty. So, yeah,
empty. $9.99 from me and my human. Here's to an adult beverage and a nap.
Whoop.
Amber is watching and she just texted. She said, "I am the reason this isn't true for us. We have a remarkably clean everything, and it's because of her. I sit right here and I just work and study insanely all the time, and she makes sure that my life isn't a nightmare. She just keeps everything in order. She says she is also super anti-clutter.
As best to her ability, I'm sure. 1107 from Mario Bartolome Seaman. Donating what I can. So, Mario, you're not obligated to donate anything, but we do appreciate you so much.
Yeah, very kind of you. Thank you for the donation. Thank you for participating. $9.99 from Ryan Koo. The National Guard may be coming to my city, and some local restaurants have been posting special National Guard deals. Not a fan. I feel like they shouldn't be made to feel welcome, but some disagree. Thoughts? I would feel the same way. I want to encourage those soldiers to remember their oaths and disobey unlawful orders, but as it stands, the way they are being utilized is un-American. Or it is unfortunately American. It is anti what America could and should be. And so, yeah, no, I would not patronize a business that is going out of their way to be accommodating towards fascists. And I know that not every member of the National Guard is a fascist, but they are following the orders of one, and they need to check that.
Yeah, I'm modestly torn as my daughter was in the military, but yeah. Anyway,
they're tough. They can take it. They're not being shot.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Judged by their.
I was just going to more say, even if you're ordered somewhere you don't want to be, getting a good deal on a sandwich is.
It's always nice. It's always nice.
Always
but
nice.
I don't know you. I don't know if you're one of the good ones or if you're one of the ones
exactly,
that is happy
right. That's
to stomp in a civilian.
That is the trick. Yep.
Yeah.
$9.99 from Balthazar 228. You need merch that is styled like U.S. Forest Service with Forest Service. Oh, does the U.S. Forest Service have a cool logo?
It probably. Mine, instead of being a tree, would just be like a pile of books and like doodles of dicks. $9.99 for me and my human. Congratulations, Paul, on Afterburn. Hell yes, I'm gonna have to watch this movie.
Thank you. £5 from Harder Gamer. Testing. 3:40 a.m. bedtime soon, but Andrew was so painful tonight.
Yeah, dude. $5
before
from
bed,
Alice.
I guess.
I feel like the super chats, if you're into that, I feel like the super chats at the end are the aftercare for the line. Like I know Forrest would never sub drop me. I don't know how to feel about that. There's a lot there.
A lot there. All right, we made it.
Oh, It's the show. Paul, anything you want to say before the end, before you wrap up, before we get out of here?
No, I just be kind to one another. That's my message at the end. Be kind to each other.
Yeah. Trans men are men, trans women are women, trans rights are human rights, and genocide is bad, y'all. This is, as far as I know, the official position of the line. So thanks for tuning in, supporting that. And with that, thank you so much to Luxander for producing tonight. Thank you so much to Paul for being an amazing co-host and friend. Thank you so much to our mods in chat for keeping things civil. Thank you so much to the people in chat, even the ones that suck. Thank you so much to the callers, even the ones that suck. Thank you so much to you for watching. Have an awesome rest of your day, and never stop learning. See you later. Bye.